Add that mic check. All right. Getting how long go that? 2 seconds. All right, cool. Let me get the show ready. All right. Let me make that small. All right. Time ticking. Time ticking. Time is ticking. Excellent. Everyone get your popcorn ready. Your vegan popcorn ready. All right. Let's keep that through. I think I've let past 9 o'clock before I start, so we can actually go straight to the bone. Bone. Look at that. Speed up. Look at the great people there. Look at the great people. Great black people who try to help black people. So good to see that. Oh, look at that. All right, now let's skip on to the where is it? The actual is it this one? I feel yeah, that one. Oh, here it is. Voila. Give me 17 seconds, family. It's going to get you the slide that we all have to see. The slide that is very nice. Screen share. Voila. And I think it's that one. Da 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 da. Oh yeah, a bit smaller, wasn't it? Okay. All right. Zoom in. Let's go. Let's go. Dun 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 dun. Magic. All right. So this is the Black Betterment Broadcast. This is show 70. That means there have been 70 shows where the black community has tried to help ourselves using this platform. Hopefully, we'll influence many other platforms to actually do the same thing, which will be fantastic. Yes, very good. So those who are new, we're going to go through our tradition of how we always start, just so people understand what we're about and all that good stuff. So unfortunately, after much research, I've currently concluded that black people are collectively inadequate. This is a big shock to many people, but when we view the data, unfortunately, when it comes to working as a team on goals dedicated to black people, we fall short at many obstacles. So there has to be a solution for this, and hopefully this show is gonna work towards that solution. So we can move past that, and we're gonna send the link out after I do my speech. For brothers and sisters to jump in and actually communicate. But before we do, we have to have some kind of discipline structure. So that is the 4D values. So that is discipline, dedication, discernment, and dignity. So this will help us try to find solutions for black people. Remember, when we talk to each other, if we can use these 4 pillars, yeah, it'll make trying to communicate so much more easier. I know sometimes it's hard when you pick the topics, but trust me, from experience, it's very good. Now, also, we can try not to use derogative language unless we're reviewing something that has it there. Generally, using that each other doesn't work because even in in celebration form or whatever the other forms are, people might misinterpret it, and then we have black people fighting, which is never good. But then it is what it is. All right, cool. So for those who don't know, what is Black Betterment? Black Betterment is black people helping black people on black issues for betterment. Quite simple, but you'll be surprised. I've done a few talks this week and last week, and it does ruffle a few feathers. And we're going to break down why that is. So what is it's a lifestyle. So Black Betterment is a lifestyle. Voila, excellent. I have to read this out. Sorry, guys. I'm not sure if we're going to show any videos, but if we do, just let you know that I'm not stealing other people's equipment, copyright, whatever. So copyright disclaimer under Section 007 of the Copyright Act of 1976 allows is made for fair use purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit educational use. Tips to balance in favor of fair use. Don't know if that even works, but I was told to read it. Go past that. That is a very good chart. We'll come back to that at some point. So today's show, for those who want to know, is why are we disparaged from practicing Black Betterment? I said we, but black people, that is. And is black love important for Black Betterment? So that's 2 separate questions. They're probably intertwined, but let's break it down. So let me see what I've actually got on this list to go through. Okay, so before we start, I'm going to break down again because I always have to define this for people, and I said this a few days ago, and it caused some confusion, and that's defining 2 types of Black Betterment practitioners, right? As we see it. So we have 2. We have the Black Betterer and the Black Betterment Builder. What are they? So a Black Betterer is an individual. Let's break it down. A Black Betterer is a black person practicing a lifestyle choice involving dedication to enhancing the livelihood of black people, specifically locally and globally in all areas of people activity, wherever it is constructively possible. That's a Black Betterer. So if you're a black person and you want to dedicate your time and effort in helping black people in all activities, then you will be considered a Black Betterer. Also, if you do get married or you do have a partner, that partner being black is part of the process as well. There's a collective reason for that, and we'll break that down later. But that's important. If you are not with a black person, then you won't be considered Black Betterer. Now, For those who don't want to have that dedicated lifestyle because, for whatever reason, there is a second tier, a different tier, and that's the Black Betterment Builder. What is a Black Betterment Builder? A Black Betterment Builder is a black person practicing a lifestyle choice involving dedication to enhancing the lives of black people, specifically locally, globally, in one or more areas of people activity. What does that mean? In less jargon form, it just means that you might be a black person who realizes that black people are collectively inadequate or going through hardships, and there needs to be certain kind of things done to prevent that, to improve the livelihood. So you might decide to make a school for black boys and girls that teaches them how to make motherboards, or maybe teaches them how to grow sweet potatoes and this kind of stuff. Maybe play football or teach them how to play rugby or whatever it might be. You do that kind of stuff. You dedicate time in certain activities specifically for black people. The training here about Black Betterment is training yourself to do things specifically for black people, because black people are collectively inadequate, and unfortunately we haven't learned that. And I shall demonstrate this as time goes by in my fantastic roundup weekly speech of reaching out into the nether realm of trying to talk to black people about how to be constructive. So we go past that. All right, so we'll come to temporary love. That's a good one. So before we even get there, I think I have to, before I go to that fantastic slide there. All right, socially smart strategy. So basically, what's going to happen is, the idea is to try to be constructive and help black people because we need help, right? But obviously, you need to have a socially smart strategy. You have to have a way of interacting that minimizes anxiety, which is very hard because at the very topic of helping black people, historically, black people who've done this, will be attacked and maybe killed, unfortunately, by black people, non-black people. And even today, there's a lot of pain. And helping black people could be dangerous work, but it is what it is. So we want socially smart strategies. So what are we gonna do? Boom. All right. So here's the thing I always say, and take it and run with it as much as you can. And this is to do with non-black people. I very rarely talk about non-black people, except for when you have things to be aware of. And this is just the things. So one of the issues, if you use the term black and you talk about black people, and you use that term, people will always automatically talk about the opposite term, white people or other people, and they'll always wonder, oh, what are you doing for them and this kind of stuff, right? And then they usually in their mind start creating concepts that you want to harm non-black people for some reason. Who knows why? Well, there's a reason for that, but we won't go into that. So one thing I would say to you guys, and this is the mantra that you should chant, I recommend, but you don't have to, and that is don't mistreat non-black people, because one, it's not nice, and two, it can be used to undermine black progress. And that's really how it is. I don't want to start doing some scenarios of I'm here and then we have a black brother with us and he's angry. Let me put that on vibrate because we don't want music playing as I'm doing the show. Okay, yeah, sorry about that, Android. The brother's there and he's talking and he's trying to build a bridge or whatever it might be in some kind of community, whatever it is. And then, you have one black brother next to him who's standing with him. He's like, I'm down with you. I'm going to help you. And that brother's just cursing all other people out. And then he starts throwing water bombs at non-black people. And then you go to black, okay, let's go build a bridge. And then you go, oh, no, that guy, he likes throwing water bombs at non-black people. I'm not going to do it. And then what will happen? That action will be used to undermine your black progress. You see? I know it's a silly story, but that's just what it is. So be very wary of that. So as I say, if you can, be kind because it takes you a long way. So anyway. So that's that little spiel there. Now, where were we? What was the next one? Not Manosphere. We're not doing that. All right. One of the challenges you're going to face with many black people is benchmark rebranding. Yeah. So there's certain goals we're going to try to reach, and then people are going to lower the benchmark and then aim for that. And this is a big problem we have, and that's why this is going to drag us into. I think right. So we're going to talk about today contemporary kindness and love, and traditional kindness and love. Now, the reason I talk about this is because when you go out and you try to talk to other black people about certain basics, like black people loving black people, they will always go, well, what about black people loving non-black people? What about that? And just by the sheer definition, that has nothing to do with Black Betterment. It's a different topic, and I don't specialize in that. I always give the analogy that a vegan, there are rules, and the rules are if you eat meat or any animal product, you're no longer a vegan. When you try to explain some of these concepts to the concept of how to be either pro-black or a black bear, or these kinds of things, that there's some specifics. Many black people they get confused and upset because of the process of what is it called? Let's go back. Benchmark rebranding. You see, so essentially what we want is we want to be a vegan and eat meat, We want to be pro-black and not be in any black activities at all. Be a black veteran, not do any kind of betterment work at all, or not even be around black people, marry black people, this kind of stuff. And this is one of the challenges of when I start the show by saying that black people are collectively inadequate, because what you find is non-black people around the world understand some of these basic principles we have, and that's because of the training we've been had and the compromised group and all that kind of stuff, right? So when we talk about traditional love, we talk about a black man, constructive black man with constructive black woman, and that's very important. That's very important for building communities, building stable households, teaching children, blah blah blah. So we would refer to this as traditional, or I would. This is traditional love, traditional kindness, yeah? Because what's going to happen as well, when you debate other black people, people will jump in from the side and shout from the wilderness, and they'll heckle you and they'll say this kind of stuff. And what I recommend not to do is not to see other black people as bad or wicked, but more so see them as practicing a more contemporary form of kindness, meaning they've been bamboozled in a certain way where they believe that even the people, marginalized groups who have very little, still have to dedicate all their time in helping everyone, rather than fixing your own community before you can step up the plate and be an actual functioning, person, whatever. So I would label that as contemporary kindness. They have been in this modern day time in the new fashion world. They have been their form of kindness is to have little and give all the little they have to everyone before they work on themselves. And that could be some people say as a form of kindness, maybe a form of brainwashing, a form of silliness. But I would recommend I say it's a form of kindness, but maybe at a certain point it might be misguided kindness, right? And then we have traditional kindness. And the traditional kindness, we have to practice it more so in the past, maybe in enslavement days, in certain like black economic days of the past because of segregation, where you had to actually fix your own community, because if you didn't, you wouldn't thrive at all. But unfortunately, when those when those kind of restraints were removed, black people many become subservient. And I was looking towards non-black people for sustenance and guidance. And this is why you find not that many economic structures or institutions that are dedicated to black people, because of these kinds of things. So where are we today? So what are we doing? So we mentioned that briefly. So I'm just going to tell you, recently I had a debate. I had a few debates, but the one I think was was it yesterday or the day before? I can't remember. Two nice brothers, very cool brothers. And the same kind of thing started happening. When I started talking about, a list of priorities that for the black community that could lead to betterment. And as soon as I mentioned the concept of constructive black man with a constructive black woman, a hullabaloo kicked off. And then, what about if you want to love everyone? This is a phenomenon we see mainly from black men, but there's a history of that. And, this is one of the challenges you have to deal with, because unfortunately, there is a pass of the torch, a lot of this going on. And I think recently, the reason why the debate was started that way and they went that way is because there was a picture of a famous UK comedian, a black brother, and I think he might have announced he has a European wife on some kind of social network. And I think this started some kind of debate, and amongst the debate, maybe there was people name calling, I'm assuming, and that was what people latched onto. Hence why I say never mistreat non-black people, because it will used to undermine black progress. But anyway, and then at the same time in America, there was another some kind of romance show, or kind of dating show, or pickup show, whatever it might be, where the brother name was Mo Gilligan. Thank you for White Matters, very good help there. Give you some props there. Voila, there you go. Okay, yeah. And also in America, there was, I think, Fitness and Fresh. My memory's not as good as it once was, but I think someone circulated some video where these two black brothers, one might be Afro-Caribbean, one might be Afro-Sudanese or something, was saying how they don't like African and black and African American women, and they use certain kind of derogatory terms. At least one of them did, and the other one co-signed it apparently. And it highlights how easy and how consistent it is to undermine black women from black men in the community. And this is obviously a problematic thing. You don't necessarily see this in other communities. This is part of the collective inadequacies that I was describing. Matter of fact, I might even have that video. So let me click that video so you can hear it. But I've taken this from a rapper called, I'm a bad guy, I'll remember his name in a bit. So I just Googled and got this. So Thousand Forgiveness, we'll find it in a minute. This is his show. Oh yeah, there we go. So this is his show called, let me read that again. I can't see it. It looks like Forgotten Kings TV, but my screen's small. But the guy's called My Song. So he's played a clip of it, so you can hear it from there, and then you can hear his
about the black dating app called Black.
Oh, funny, I never used that one, bro. But hey, man.
I mean, hey, bro, if you want to date a bunch of Shaniquas, go for it, man.
LaQuisha.
Yeah, like me and Fresh aren't really down with the brown like that.
Man.
We ain't night riders.
Nah,
so
bro, I'm good.
Sometimes if they're red bone, but like in general, me and Fresh don't dabble in the dark, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
Okay, so
the brother's gonna give his opinion. We listened because we borrowed this video, so let's at least hear his opinion. That's right.
This is what I talk about. When we give power to cowards, right? When we give power to people that don't even mean us any good. And I knew it was something about this podcast. I seen when they had Bozo Academics on there, and he was calling some girl all types of bitches and threatening her and saying he gonna do shit to her and whatever. And these cowards were sitting there. And then the next thing I just seen when they had the girlfriend of King Von up there, Asian doll, and he was disrespectful to her. So of course he don't like black women, and the self-hate is disgusting. So since he don't have black women, stop having black women on your show, right? I just think black women shouldn't go there. I think you're not really down with the brown. You don't dabble in the dark, or the little innuendos and the dumb shit you say. So us as brown and dark, we shouldn't support shit like that. It's sad when you look and see this black ass dude talking about he don't dabble in the dark. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, is this like a joke? But these are the people that we continue to give power and empower within our culture to dictate what it is. These women go up there, black women sit up there all the time and sit around, and these dudes don't even fuck with y'all.
Right, excuse the language. But yeah, so we can co-sign that. You gotta be careful who you highlight and community, this kind of stuff, right? So anyway, connected, not necessarily connected, but that as well as this Mo Gilligan picture of his European wife, whatever it is, has obviously caused some kind of stir in the internet land. And we're very constant. Like, our messages don't really change because it's Black Betterment through and through. We're only looking to practice Black Betterment. But once again, it's very easy in the community to use black women as a target and to use them as the undesirables. And this is the failure of the black man in so many areas. So this is something we have to fix. So naturally, when I talk, I always start by all conversations by acknowledging that black people are collectively inadequate because of the past and these kinds of things. And the solution that I push forward is Black Betterment. That's black people and black people. And one of the principles is constructive black marriage, constructive black women, makes constructive black families. But there are people out there where it triggers. It triggers. So if you're one of those people who triggers, by all means, jump on. I try to send out invites for people who might feel a certain way. And then what you tend to find with, and obviously these gentlemen, unfortunately, I can't play their videos because it's funny. Most time I debate people or discuss, they usually take the video down. I don't know what it was. There seems to be a theme there of people taking the videos down. And I'm sure there's other reasons, but yeah, it's interesting. But so I can't actually play it, which is most unfortunate. Yeah, what I was saying. So this is the challenge that we're dealing with, right? So when I was talking about that, before I could get anywhere else, as soon as I mentioned that concept, that a lot what people bring up is like, oh man, you're there was one brother, and obviously I'm not too sure of his past, but he was saying like, oh, if you talk about black man loving black women, then you're denying biracial people's existence. A very interesting way to put stuff. Like you could reverse it and say, well then if black man doesn't bring up black woman, you're denying black people's existence. So, and once again, I don't get into who is black, who isn't black. That's really like historically, the offspring of black people have always been welcome to practice Black Betterment and have been called black. I mentioned Bob Marley and all these other people who allegedly had a white father. So it's more so your actions in that and your lineage in that standpoint of how you operate to, as a collective, improve the benefit of the black people, the descendants of Africans, that kind of stuff, right? So interesting, but it is interesting to have these debates. But while I talk, and I will talk and ramble on, what I'm going to do is because I also have invited people on to talk about some of this. So today's topic, before I start rambling on like a madman, this is why are we disparaged from practicing Black Betterment? And then also, is black love important for Black Betterment? So maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. maybe you don't need to. Maybe black people don't need to be black people to have a conducive civilization and society. And maybe not. So what I've done, guys, I've put the link. I think I put the link in the forum. So what time is it? Usually I waffle on for long, and people run out of time because it gets really nice and juicy. I don't want to keep doing that. So I'll keep waffling on. And if anyone wants to jump in and start any kind of discussion over this topic, yeah, and their experiences or their feelings, especially if you're new, because some people might be coming from. Obviously, I use breadcrumbs wherever I go, and I always invite the brothers and sisters of the black community to jump in. And one thing that was quite consistent was the I think the brother I was talking to yesterday. He was very passionate and he has his own way of thinking, which we love him for it. But one thing he was saying was is this concept of labeling. So naturally, with me. I think it's very necessary to label and have rules and these kinds of things. So we're aware of what we're discussing. So naturally, if I go back to don't forget this word, by the way, everyone: error prone and high principle. Yeah, because the idea is to be a high principle black bearer. And the reason that's important is because what you tend to find when you debate other people is they'll start saying, "What if you meet a person who believes in black life, believes in black economics, and all that kind of stuff?" But don't forget, guys, to hit the like. Thank you, Empress Kushti. I'm not sure what that does, but hit the like and that's good stuff there because it's what people do. Anyway, yeah, he was saying, "Oh, what if you have a black person who's all these kind of like pro-black this, pro-black that, and all this kind of stuff, but they're bad people?" And yeah, that's a problem, isn't it? So I say that yes, the ideology might be in the right place, but then they're in the wrong area. They're in the error zone. You see, the error zone. And we need them to be in the high principle zone, yeah. And so doing actions at high principles is very necessary, especially if you're going to try to influence people to contribute to making black people's reality better. So let's not forget that. But yeah, what I noticed was, and what you tend to find with speaking with many black men, is they get so offended with some of the concepts of black woman with black man that they might even become unhinged and unstable and start name calling. And this is never good. But it shows you of the historical programming that has gone in our community, where this and then what is pushed forward is the feelings of what they describe as the biracial offspring, and we've made it very clear, so-called biracial people and always welcome to participate in any form of Black Betterment. I've very rarely seen any kind of collective group where a person openly identifies as biracial mix and they're not welcome to come into the community and do what they're doing, and they're part of the community. But then also the truth of the matter is he was saying that some biracial people feel a way about certain things, so if you're a biracial person and you wish to talk about this, by all means jump in. I did say I'm more than happy at one point to set aside a safe space, don't like that word, but I'll use it, a safe space for so-called biracial people to jump on and have a conversation about what it means to have an identified black parent and an identified non-black parent in the social environment you're in. And I think a few weeks back we were talking to a couple of brothers and sisters about some of the challenges that face when you might be trying to start certain groups, and there is a dedication to trying to we have try to include everyone else. So White Matters, welcome White Matters. How's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? But can you hear me?
Nice. You got a nice microphone. I like that. So this must be your first time on the broadcast. Is that right?
It is. It is. Actually, I came across your channel from the Discord server. So I've been going to your channel, and it's been a blessing. Actually, I'm not gonna lie to you. So I'm glad that I caught onto your channel. So I do like your topics, and I like this topic today. So I thought, yeah, let me come in and
wow, that's good.
Whatnot.
That's great. And the way I want to see is this is a community show. So as long as it's constructive and aimed towards black people, we'll cover it. And we try to be constructive as possible, especially when we have black people here. So with the topic, what is your angle? What would you like to bring up on that?
I mean, first off, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. You touched on a few things about how there seems to be an obstacle from our own people, and especially the men who are meant to be seen as the leaders in the forefront, the protectors of the community. They're the ones who should be really at the forefront of all things Black Betterment. But as of late, I don't know what it is, if it's in the waters or not, but there seems to be more women at the front of our movement than men. I'm looking at the BLM UK, and the name that springs to mind is Sasha Johnson. I'm trying to think of other names, but I'm just seeing a lot of women in terms of who are picking up the mantle, which really should be something that we should be doing. But the men are like, oh, we should. It's almost like the men are kind of apologetic for being black and helping black people. That's how I get a feeling from it, which is very strange.
It is strange, and I agree with everything you're saying. And if I can offer, just as you bring up the points for what I've observed, so there's two dynamics going on across the world in the diaspora of black people. So the one dynamic that we have to mention is that there is, whether we like to admit or not, still a fear of black men from established, say, non-black groups, right? As in reluctant power, and it is easier to have a non-black a black woman around than a black man in certain kind of institutions. The reason I say that is because when you talk about things like Black Lives Matter, the funding and original forming of that was by I think George Soros. I can't remember all this kind of stuff, right?
Or the US version was, but the UK was slightly different. But yeah,
slightly different. But still, the same principle remains about feeling feeling more comfortable around a woman or a black woman than a black man. That's one thing. But I don't want to lean on that. I want to lean on the collective inadequacies of black men. And historically, black men have done wonderful things throughout the years, and we want to resurrect that, right? But unfortunately, there is a consistent of dropping the ball in certain mass movements and ideas. And one of them is the way of actually protecting and providing for black women and making that a life theme. Other people groups understand this very well, but black men seem to struggle. And that's something we have to unwrap. And I think I demonstrate this when I do try to talk about Black Betterment. Before I can even talk about economics and this kind of stuff, as soon as I start with black woman with black man, that's when Hullabaloo starts. And I think Sister Kush put it, say that I think they even compare Betterment groups to KKK. So the thing is, I try to be kind of collective when I talk to certain people. But if you actually unpack that, that is very, I don't like using the word dangerous. Yeah, deep. That's very deep, where a black man will say, you're trying to fix your community and loving your black woman is like KKK.
Yeah, no, serious. I mean, I'm like, I have discussions like this on my channel, and funny enough, again, I don't know what it is, but the moment there's two topics I try and stay clear from because I know what's going to happen. And these are black men. If it's anything to do with, again, building a community, being with could you use the word constructive, which I like, constructive black man and a constructive black woman. What they will do is it's almost like you're again, I won't compare it to KKK. You're almost swearing at them. They almost see it as taking away. Them not having access to a non-black woman is like taking away their favorite chocolate or their favorite dessert. It's something which it's a strange one. It's almost as if you are punishing them for something. And again, it's a weird mental. I don't know what kind of mental state it's in, or what kind of what's in the waters. But yeah, it's crazy, and it's almost as if they want to be able to, like you said, be pro this, pro that, and yet be vegan but eat meat, be 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and think that they can be exactly what they say they are. It's like, it doesn't really work that way. So yeah, black families is the only way we can have a strong black community. That's the only way we can do it. There's and that consists of the black man and the black woman. There's no two ways about it. Anything else, you're not forming a black community. You're forming something different. They can be allies. I have no problem with that. If they say that they're part of this, I have no problem with that. But really and truly, the core of it is a black man and a black woman. So when you play that Fresh and Fit clip, I was just like, again, another common occurrence I'm seeing right now from a lot of black men, where they use everything. I say they're gaslighting, but they're there's so much negativity towards black women as well, if I'll be honest with you, as a whole, where these kind of conversations, they can't get off the ground. That's why our movements at the moment aren't where they need to be. Because historically, movements in the past have been so strong because it starts in the family, in the home. And if you have a non-black home, it can't be as strong as a real black home, in my opinion. And that's why
I agree. And it's like I said, you see a fundamental flaw when you talk about black community, and you're not even including black people in that equation. It's interesting dynamic, and once again, it's something that and when I speak, what you tend to find, usually when I speak, I get insulted very quickly, and the reason I get insulted very quickly is because people are more comfortable to insult individuals over ideas, and I try to make my ideas very plain and straightforward, and sometimes that comes across very threatening. But by all means, brothers and sisters in the community, anything that is said on the Black Betterment broadcast, use it in your discussion if it makes it easier. And some things we have to highlight is benchmark rebranding, where we keep changing the benchmark. Yeah, you know, there was a goal and then we lower the goal. Yeah, and that's why. And with respect to the brothers yesterday and the day before, I can't remember what it was, but what a lot of them were projecting. A lot of the brothers were projecting, and they were saying that, oh, you know, there was this concept like we have a definition of what something is, and when you fall short of this definition, there is an insult. There not insult. There is an offense. So they'll say, "So, are you telling me that if I help children, but I don't marry a black woman, I can't be seen as a black betterer?" And then the response is, "No, you can't be seen as a black betterer. Let's get the diagram up because that's important. But you can be seen as a black betterment builder." Yeah. And once again, you know, wanting to own something, be called something without having the merits of it is a form of benchmark rebranding. Yeah. And this phenomenon you can observe in many music forms and social forms of maybe stripping and rapping and drug dealing, where what we do is we have a benchmark of constructive high principle, and then we replace it with error prone, and then we rebranch that as the mark. Like, I'm a pimp, I'm a drug dealer, I'm a rapper who talks about killing every black man I could possibly see, and that then becomes the benchmark. That then becomes the thing we love, and you'll get less criticisms towards that behavior then you'll get less criticism than brothers saying that there is value in a constructive black man being a constructive black woman. Now, that's for the people who listen. The reason I recommend you say constructive black man with constructive black woman is because I'm going to try to minimize your time of talking about nothing. So when you try to get to the point of black economics, black life, this kind of stuff, they'll go, but what if the black man is a violent man who loves attacking black women? And this is what they'll say. So you
right. They'll make these scenarios up to try and discredit a black man or a black woman. It's almost as if they're picking like the negativity, the worst parts of us, and collectivifying. And it's just almost like, well, that's not all of us, is it? So yeah, that's why I do like that constructive black man and constructive black woman. I love that. So
there you go. And by all means, anyone out there, internet land, everything that is said and printed, every document that's done on this is for you black people, and use it to your betterment. And hopefully we can influence others to do the same. Now, brother, you said you have a show. Do you want to promote that show? So, I mean, as long as it's constructive and it's trying to help black people, do you want to promote it now so people can follow you and stuff?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can definitely put some links in. So
put some, I think you might have, because you're in this forum, you have access to the forum here. So this repost, and then I'll put it up on the screen as well. So the brother says, as long as you're constructive towards black people, we support it.
What I'm happy to do, I'll put it in the private chat, and then because I know if I'm not a mod, it links on. I can't put it in the chat.
You know, that must be something. Yeah. Let me. I'll pull it in here. And family, all you need to do is click on that fantastic button there, and you'll go and subscribe to the brother, and support that. Because the thing is, look, I try to use words correctly, right? And I'm aware that the great change that's going to happen in the black community isn't necessarily going to come from the masses, but it's going to come from the small few who create prototypes and templates and get in positions of power and positions of marketing where we can show betterment and we can have influence that. Because what's actually happened is when we go back to the original diagram of of traditional love and contemporary kindness and love is the new branding. And what I was talking about a few weeks ago that I'll bring up once more time is we have to understand historically there's two dynamics when it comes to African people, European people, or black people, white people, however you want to name it, right? And what that dynamic is this: when white people were mistreating black people for many, many years, at a certain point, it wasn't profitable anymore. And it also was weighing on many of their minds, as in this actually isn't correct, right? So what they did is they came up with ways to make people feel better and to fix certain things in their mind, right? So they had universal ways of speaking, as in like love has no color, don't judge people, don't help everyone what it is. But that is a solution for white people or Europeans, yeah, because the people who historically had all the power, had all the economics, had all the resources, can practice that. They can practice that, and the social dynamics will remain the same, yeah. However, black people need to build because so much was taken away. And so much division has been sowed in, and so much separate ideologies have become rampant in so many minds that is why when you try to talk to so many black people, they're going to throw so many words out there of what they are part of. You know, this group, that group, this religion, that religion, this sexuality, that sexuality, and they're using all these as a tool to not come together to fix issues, right? And black people are the only people you see who are violently against identifying as black to work on solutions. You see, you don't see that in other groups. And I want to tackle it because I'm not here to say other people's business, so I'll just say it around that way. But you might find brothers and sisters who they're part of certain kind of religious groups, and they go amongst the religious groups on online forums, online videos and stuff, and then you'll see a complete bombardment of those separate non-black same faith group saying, you know, why are you helping black people? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Even though they'll come from communities where they'll do just that. Like before I end by saying this, I have spoken to people from Afghanistan who come and tell me that when they're at their country, that people in my country despise black people. Yeah. And they tell me this confidently. I'm like, all right, cool. Thanks for letting me know because that's important. But in the second breath, they're saying, yeah, but black people should still be helping everyone, should still be working with It's like, it's an interesting way. And I think that kind of way of thinking seems to work in the minds of black people as well as non-black people. And then you have those kind of gatekeepers. But brother, why it matters, would you like to carry on before I keep waffling on?
No. You raised some good points there, and it's just remind me of a kind of because when he was talking about how it seems black people seem to glean to other people's cultures and lift up their cultures while they're the gatekeepers of that culture, whereas us, it's the other way around. So the best way I can illustrate it is if you look at our almost cultural crown jewels when it comes to our foods, when it comes to distribution, a lot of the foods that is stereotypically, you know, like say Afro-Caribbean, they aren't owned by us. So we have a culture which we apparently are the ones who benefit from it or should benefit from it, but we don't actually financially benefit from it. We are the customers or the consumers of our own products that we should be owning. Hair stores, we get do-rags. When it comes to Turtle Bay's chain Caribbean restaurants, when it comes to Tropical Sun, seasoning, guns, when it comes to all these things which we should be the ones who are the owners and proprietors of it, and we should be the gatekeepers. We no longer become the gatekeepers of our own cultures, but we think that's fine or it's acceptable. I'm like, no, that's not acceptable. Other cultures, regardless of whether they say, oh, you know, you should be helping us, or don't worry about that. No, they don't operate that way. They tell you one thing, but they operate a completely different way. You look at the South Asian community, what they do is that they have a complete owned ecosystem where you can tell you in the South Asian community, they have got things on lock. Now they have their own problems, but they support their business. They have their little, obviously, nuanced community, which seems pretty separate from the rest of it, but they sell their culture to their own people. We can't even do that for the most part, or we don't support it as much as we should do. I read a stat the other day which said 95% of our finances go outside of the black community. So already as a basis, we're not even supporting our own people if we do have stores and shops and whatnot. So many things which these are foundational concepts. This is the strangest thing. Everything that you're saying right now are, in my humble opinion, just straightforward foundational concepts, which when I speak to other people from other cultures, they're like, that's what we do. That's what we're taught to do. Some of them go through arranged marriages. They marry within their own group of people, and a lot of times they're despised if they don't. So much so that their families cut them off. Whereas again, we have us just promoting that is like what do we call it? Is heresy. It's so convoluted that we get told one thing. Oh yeah, do this will help us. But yeah, I'm like, well, they don't practice what they preached. They tell you one thing, but it's something completely different. So
very true, Robert. Now let me add this. And well said. You know, we have to have the reason why I'm merciful to the brothers and sisters who do this is because they are easily led. Many brothers and sisters are easily led in certain directions, especially when you don't have your own infrastructure actually giving guidance, right? And what they're doing is they're spewing someone else's philosophies, and they're spewing it very well. And I think you said it's correct in the sense of even though you talk about food and hair and stuff, we can break that down to even like sports and music. You'll be the number one selling artist, but you won't own the label. You'll be the number one football and rugby player, whatever it is, but you won't own the team or the blah, blah, blah. So it's training leadership. Now, I will debate if I have time any black person about anything I say, and I'm happy to have a constructive conversation. But I'm well aware that a good majority of them are never going to really be synchronized with anything I'm saying. Many of them are going to be kumbayarist, and they're going to be lead with passion and emotion, and they're not going to get down to the nitty gritty of actually trying to do things, right? So everywhere I go, I try to look for that dedicated group, that dedicated group out there of people who we share same values. So I'm not the certain values I'm pushing, and that is constructive black man, constructive black woman, black economics, trying very hard to form groups and unions where we look at black issues. Now, what I have on the board at the moment is an idea, and that I would recommend, and that is all you constructive black people out there. Now, obviously, there's going to be variance because some people have certain kind of beliefs or certain kind of stuff like that, and maybe gravitate more towards those beliefs if that's how you want to do. But form fellowships, fellowships with other black people who think like you, and have meetings, have WhatsApp groups, or the black variant when you make it, and do all these things, and have an agenda that we're going to use and pull our resources together to have our own education, influence education, have our own business, have our own media platforms that are dedicated to constructive black betterment, right? And things that benefit black people, and that's why the one philosophy that I push that can help black people, because remember, you will be bullied, or they'll try to bully you in everything you're saying. That's why I'm pushing, remember the word, the lifestyle of black betterment. The lifestyle of black betterment is black people helping black people on black issues for betterment. Now, when you say this, what will happen is people will say, I think the sister said they're racist, they'll say all this weird, wacky stuff, but you're backed by this. Let's go back. You recognize that black people, unfortunately, are collectively inadequate. Now, the reason why you have to say this, and let's take my advice on that, is you can tell how much a person doesn't care for themselves or you when you declare that you're aware that black people are collectively inadequate and no one is going to look after black people, but yet they go straight past that and they go to your black love and the black economics issue. They don't care that you've actually had a cry for help, meaning we recognize that we're in pretty bad company. We're going pretty low down here, and you'll notice that all my debates, no one challenges the claim, no one tries to, and I want them to demonstrate scenarios where we can observe masses of black people doing constructive things on a high level where the benefits are plentiful, and it's for black, it's for that purpose, right? It's hard to demonstrate. So this is the things that we must observe. This is the things. Now, brothers and sisters, I've put the link in the forum. We're joined by a wonderful brother, White Matters, and he's pushed the link to his group as well. But if you have anything to say on this, by all means, even if you might be, have slight disagreements, or maybe you came across me debating some people this week and you want something to say, maybe you agree, maybe disagree. But this broadcast is for black people to talk about solutions and constructive stuff and things to be aware of. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
You want to say it again?
Oh, sorry, can you hear me?
No, go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
Just a question. Who do you let's say assign more portion of the blame or responsibility on for the where we are right now? Would it be the man's side or the woman's side?
If I'm being 100% honest, the man's side.
Okay.
And there's two reasons for that. One, at a certain point of the strategies I push out, there's going to be a certain time where men will have to be responsible for the actions of men, and women will have to be responsible for the actions of women.
This is the biggest bone of contention that happens because when you play the Fresh and Flick clip, they're part of the manosphere, and especially when it comes to the black manosphere, but even both of them, the white and black manosphere, but particularly the black one, the biggest contention when it comes to this is there's no trust between the sexes, and a lot of times it's because especially both sexes are blaming each other for the situation that we're in, and then obviously with the men, this is the reason why they don't want to be with a black woman, because they see him as the queen of lies, deception. They're the ones who slept with the wrong dude to create these violent gorilla kids, these park apes who are out there knifing everyone up, shooting everyone up, that kind of stuff. So a lot of times this is where the conversation just stays because of that. So yeah, they blame him for everything. To be fair, pretty much.
We tried to. I'm glad you jumped on that because we tried to unpack this because even on this document I have here, we actually. I think we have here. We were tackling the SYSBM, Save Yourself Black Men movement, the divestment, the swirlers, I think I've cut some of the others just because of very choppy stuff. Where else? No, that kind of stuff. All right, cool. Black Lives Campaign. Yeah. So no. I hear that. And don't get me wrong. Yeah, because Black people collectively are inadequate, there are going to be challenges and problematic behaviors that both Black women and Black men do. However, there is this historical thing that when you go back to like hard times and trying times, men have specific roles, isn't it? And in that specific role is providers and protectors. Yeah. So we have to really observe how much do Black men embrace that responsibility from a community? How many men are building adequately? And yes, there's much problems out there, but what I want to see is acknowledgement for problems, as in outside influence, wherever, but still a dedication to finding solutions. The conversation you see me having is you're seeing people jumping out of responsibility, and then the primary responsibility is for Black women. I think what we find is Black women historically have always been much more loyal than Black men from the data I've seen. And this is something that we have to address. Yeah, that most Black women generally, percentage-wise, want to be Black men. Now, yes, there's going to be shortcomings. Yes, there's going to be new philosophies that maybe some Black women follow. Maybe a lack of parenting. You have behavioral patterns, whatever. But this is for us to fix. And this concept of the Black man being able to leave responsibility. So it's like this. Okay, let's just say that what they're saying is true, and it might be true, right? The next thing that a builder does, or a man or a masculine man does, is fix it. Yeah. What is Black men doing to fix it? Black men are charged as leaders of the community. That's the default charge. If you might want to change it at some point, but the default charge, meaning when a Black man and a Black woman and a Black child go into a jungle, and a jungle beast comes out, a bear or a lion, depending where they are, whatever. The default should be the Black man is trying to distract and fight and confuse the bear, while the Black woman picks up and runs the child away. Then when the Black man, gets time, he escapes or dies, whatever. Right? So it's like this should be like that you should be able to spread that concept into survival of a family, innit? Like who does what.
Yeah, and this is where just playing devil's advocate. And what's happening, this is why the interracial stats are so high, is a lot of the men who I've seen, I thought, you know what, I'm not going to fix on the Black community side. I'm going to, again, call it divest, swirl, or call it what you want, SYSBM, call it whatever you want to call it. They decide to leave, again, make their families with a non-Black partner. And then what happens is that they build up they lean onto that community. And then guess what happens? Our community, it's like that's why a lot of times it's like the underbelly seems to get the praise, because if all our best and brightest who's supposed to be building, they're leaving, it's like, who are you left with? You're left with but future ones who are going to leave, who don't care anything about it. And then the people there are likely to be lower class in terms of mentality, mindset. And it's just, this is how, it doesn't get better, which is unfortunate.
Now, I want to welcome Empress Christy, by the way. Welcome, Empress Christy.
What's up, family?
Nice to meet you. Do you have any perspective on the things you've been saying at the moment?
Well, I'm just listening to both of you brothers giving your perspective, which is interesting, so I won't interrupt yet.
Okay, cool. And we always definitely want the female energy, the woman energy on this show, because as men, there's many things we miss when we speak, and we do like guidance on certain things we might not know. And who knows women better than women? So good. So brother, I hear what you're saying, and I hear that. And to be honest with you, a few weeks back, I started introducing concepts of the manosphere and the swirlers, and some people here were confused, like, why are we showing this stuff? And what I was trying to say is these things will take influence. As from my observation, they will grow very quickly, and the way of speaking will change. So, for example, there's a brother who jumped on, and he clearly was from a manosphere of some kind, right? And the way he chose to speak on the panel was that of a machine gun telling, like here's what you know what I mean. It was I want to tell you a certain amount of truth with a stone cold face approach, and this is the truth and stuff. And he had that kind of aura of like kind of like what we saw in the video there, where a guy is just listing these things that could be offensive in certain situations, but very matter of fact, very disconnected from the intimacy between black man, black woman, and institution building. So that's what we observed.
Yeah, and one of the things
Yeah, it was very combative, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, Brother White Matters.
No,
I
no,
was
no.
just saying that I agree with what Brother Ray said. Thank you. And welcome, by the way. It's good to hear your input. I'm liking what I hear already, and I've already subbed.
Oh,
But
no, appreciate it.
I think, yeah, that no probs. I think it was very combative, the energy. I mean, I didn't get to see it all by the because I had to stop and start, and by the time I wanted to, it was already taken down, unfortunately. But from what I saw, it was very combative towards you, and as usual, you maintained your composure. But yeah, I just thought there was a lot of energy there for a fellow brother who was just saying that it's important to encourage constructive black women and black men together, which is very interesting because shortly after, I don't know if it was the same time because I try to not I filter the content that I receive, but I did notice the second of the two brothers who was putting down the sisters. And you don't tend to see that same combative, passionate response. It's kind of, yeah, that's bad, or it just gets ignored. But on the other side, it's very interesting how you were just saying something that you'd seem to think is a positive, and is a positive in other races and cultures, but you were just met with hostility.
And for those who don't know, Sister Empress Kushi talking about. I was on a live stream yesterday, and talking to two brothers, very intelligent brothers, and before I could list out certain ideas of how to improve the community, that we were really stuck on this concept of constructive black man, constructive black woman coming together. But just to be fair to them, the reason I part of the trigger was there was this the whole theme of that show was one of the brothers wasn't best pleased that many black people were mocking a comedian about his new wife, who was a European white lady, whatever. So I think that was part of it, and I think they expressed themselves of why they really want to fight this kind of like stuff. And I think they were saying things like, oh, you know, black people are not elephants, they're not going to be extinct. I think some brothers were trying to say that the problem is if we don't have that much representation of successful black men picking black women, whatever, then this will become a trend and expected. And the thing you got to know about trends, which, you know, some people don't really care about, is, you know, I watch media of all over the world. So just I watch a cartoon from Japan. If they start making black characters and they automatically start making like the black box or the black rapper or the black boss, whatever it is, player having a white wife or a non-black wife, I'm saying non-black wife, yeah, then that means it's now become culturalized. It now becomes like, do you use the word stereotype? Maybe, I don't know, right? And that is where it becomes a problem, where it then becomes naturalized and law, right? And I think what the interest here is to create a culture of black men really loving and providing for black women. It's just what it is. I mean, and this should be the mission, the Black Love Campaign.
No, I agree. And funny enough, just listening to obviously myself and obviously Empress speaking about the situation, it seems so interesting that you have. I'm not saying we shouldn't defend what a lot of people attack Mo Gilligan's, was it wife, I think it is, or girlfriend. I don't see why we shouldn't be saying that's wrong. But if you just listen to what you both are saying, it sounds as if they were going so hard for a non-black woman, where had it been a black woman being dragged, I would be interested to see whether they would have the same energy, and I don't think they would have. So I don't think I don't know if white people had that kind of energy the times that black men have the energy to, you know, what do we call it, stick up for them. And it's just interesting, the mindset of how that plays through. And the thing is, there's a lot of content which people think it's just oh, it's just social media, don't worry about it. But I'm hearing a lot of things on the ground where I'm like, I know who you listen to just by how you conversate and what you're saying, because people don't realize that what you take in, you absorb, and it becomes institutionalized. So a lot of rhetoric that people use, I'm like, I know who you've listened to, because it's saying like favorite rappers, people quote them like it's the Bible. There's certain things that people quote, and how it's like an energy that comes on you. So it's one of those things where we have to really be careful about just trying to say, oh, don't worry about it, it's this. It is impacting the youth, which is very, very important, because obviously they're very impressionable, and that's going to affect, that's the future, that's our future. So one thing that we probably are lacking is being as vocal as the other side, because they're very vocal. They're very vocal.
I agree, brother. You just hit some wise words on the head there, and that's why every time I speak, I have a patterned way of speaking, and I use certain words consistently, yeah, and all those words gravitate towards empowering Black people, and that's why everyone is welcome to use those words anytime they want, because they've been socially tested, yeah, and this is socially smart strategies of like you said. When, like I said, you can listen to certain people speak, and because they listen to certain influencers, certain kind of ideas and movements, you can see straight away where the influence are coming from, and all the words they use. So, for example, the brother, the individuals who were on the video I showed first, they were using certain kind of terms and words to degrade Black women. You see, and then now it becomes normalized. It becomes already known. Yeah. So we have to have combative words. You have to have other words to cleanse that, and they have to be straight geared towards Black Betterment. And that's why when I speak to the brothers, and I don't like to see brothers lose their rag and get angry, but what is a testament of the consistency of what I'm saying? Because if you can't tackle my argument and you lose your head, then that shows you that you've already lost. You've already lost, and your argument doesn't hold any weight. Not that I'm trying to win or lose. I'm just trying to make Black people succeed, you see, and teach Black people how we can persevere.
That is so true, because you know what, when I was watching some of it, I was trying to look at the typical traits that you always mention, and they were constantly coming up. I mean, at one point, I think you even got told that, if you want to see Black love, go to Africa.
Yes,
you're not going to find it here because we're in the UK.
Yeah.
And again, to what you say before, where there's always these excuses, like I was in Mars, or there was no one there and all I could find was this one woman, or, there's the same traits keep coming up, or the same arguments keep coming up on it. So I did notice that happened quite a bit on the discussion, and not to say to put any of the brothers down, because I didn't know of them, but I know one of them was saying that he does quite well within the community. And when you say about, I think it got mentioned about that one point, because they can't argue it or they can't justify it, they go to all other angles, and that was happening a lot. For example, when I was listening, he mentioned about the Mo situation with the brother Mo, and I agree, and you agree that that's just not acceptable. We shouldn't be doing that. So there was no argument there. You was both in agreement there. But then it went to, I think, when he said that he went to Black Lives Matter, and certain of his friends who are of mixed heritage would feel uncomfortable because certain people say certain things about white people. And then it went to sounding like the Ku Klux Klan. And then all of this because you were solely saying that you agree with all the other points in regards to it doesn't help or benefit anybody to put that brother down for his choices, and we should love him for regardless of his choices. So it was just on the basis of you saying that you support Black love.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think what is really behind this, because this isn't just a disagreement, this is full-blown passion. This was hostility, this was combative argument, and I honestly believe that it's as soon as you, as a Black man, especially as a Black man, and you stand up proudly and say, I'm for Black Betterment, or I prefer, and you just say what you prefer in the arena that you keep, you were not enforcing it in them. And it felt a lot of, I don't have to, but you was not enforcing your opinions on them. You were stating your opinion and stating an argument for that opinion, right? But they were not receiving it like that. And I want to just ask something from the brothers. And I'm thinking that when I look at these kind of trends, sometimes I see it that perhaps it's like you're questioning their blackness. No, you're not questioning their blackness, but they feel like their blackness is getting questioned.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Because it's a lot of I did this for the community, and are you saying that because I'm not of a black woman I'm not black, or I'm not doing enough, or it's a lot of, and that's obviously declaring an insecurity in that individual, right? Because if you're just stating a fact of a black man and a black woman constructively should be together, the only reason why you'd look into you is because of insecurity at this point, because you've not directed it to them, right? So I feel that this happens a lot, and what tends to happen, this happens more so in black men who have some sort of connection to, perhaps they might be dating outside their race, or they're with someone who I don't know, like the guy said that he had a mixed race friend and she felt, or he felt uncomfortable when they hear things like that. So it's this kind of need to almost having to say to black people that don't you do that, because that makes other people feel uncomfortable. And I just don't think that they can see that. So I hope I kind of made sense there.
You made
But I
super
just-
sense. You made, as usual, you made super sense there, and very and by all means, white man, if you want to jump in, because I've got a few things to say on that. But yeah. So what you're gonna notice through many debates I have, or anyone out there who tries to preach any kind of consistent Black Betterment or whatever, you will find that many brothers start projecting. And there's multiple projections, and what it is connected to this kind of benchmark rebranding, where a person wants to have all the accolades, but not necessarily none of the commitments. So that they want to be seen as, loved by black people, loving black people, and all the rest. And they want to not be with a black woman. They want it not to be an option. They want to have the kumbaya love. Love doesn't matter, this kind of stuff, right? And when you tell them that, the value of black love and why we value it, then they almost feel threatened by it, and almost like you're taking away something from them. And that's why one of the brothers was like, he can't. We love the brother, respect him, but at certain points he was so passionate that he started actually narrating personal challenges, and when some of them was maybe he was in around some black people in some committee, and he felt they were using it. Like, let's use him. He took the word Black Betterment builder, and I think even converted it to, I'm a builder. Use him to build for us. And he took himself out of the black community, and almost like he was being exploited by the black community. And even one of the other brothers wanted to forbid me from using analogies and metaphors when I tried to break down that groups and lifestyles have rules and meaning. So a vegan cannot be a vegan and eat meat, but you might find a non-vegan who loves animals and saves millions of animals, but if they eat meat, they still can't be considered vegan, right? Just like these concepts we're pushing forward about black bearers, isn't it? Yeah, you cannot willingly marry a non-black woman or non-black man, depending on who you are, right? And then expect the title of a black bearer. It's like the rule sets have been defined, isn't it? But you can be a black bearer builder, or you could be a vegetarian. But it's almost like they want to have that cake and eat it. Yeah, they want to have a cake and still be vegan. This kind of stuff, their dairy cake or whatever. So this is the challenge we face. And but once again, this is going to sound very sharp, and I truly do mean it. We have a lot of brothers and sisters who have gone through and had that kind of upbringing, and that's why I started this show by breaking down for you, family, and something that it might be beneficial for you to use is see these brothers as contemporarily kind. They're the new age kindness, right? Well, we're traditionally kind. We recognize that black people haven't healed from the challenges of the past, so we need to fix it. So the kumbayarism that people are promoting now, it looks good and it's good, but that is actually a solution for another people group who are trying to find ways to not practice the same hate they did openly many years ago. But that isn't the same structure that we need to follow, because we're still, unfortunately, not operating at a correct capacity. So, brother, why the man? Would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I was just thinking, just listening to both of you, is that is there? Oh, here's what I surmise just from my observations: is it sounds like there's a particularly for black men when it comes to their blackness. I don't know whether there's either an inferiority complex or some sort of someone uses white identifiedness that a lot of black men I've seen nowadays go through, which I don't know because because like you said, when you ever talk about black love, which doesn't seem to be offensive to my ears, but seems to be very offensive to other black guys' ears. I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's some sort of self-esteem issue, which or something that goes on, which is especially when it comes to black men at the moment. I'm not saying black women don't go through this, but they seem to be a little bit more culturally sensitive, black women, to their own culture, which is why women traditionally don't date out as much as men do. But yeah, no, I don't know. It just seems to me like there's like a self-esteem issue that takes place in which they get threatened by, oh, you're telling me I'm not. And I don't know if it's because they do literally have insecurities, like the sister was saying, about who they are as a black man. That's the key. So I don't know whether that's one of the reasons.
I think it's multifaceted.
Raven,
go ahead.
Just before you go, I think that's such a point I want you to touch on as well when you answer, is that it's true, because I don't see this reaction from black women who date out as much as outside of the race. They'll hear about black love and things like that. They'll probably have female friends, right? And they'll be in that circle. They'll see the posts and they'll be in that arena where they'll see a lot of black love. But you never hear this vocal hostility from those from those women. But with men, I hear it way more.
I think that there's many dynamics. I think what it is historically, and I'm not to cause any offense to any of the black women. It might even be more of a compliment, to be honest. But what I find is black men historically had a further wanting lust to go outside and be with every woman they can be, right? While black women didn't necessarily want to do that, they were happy and content with maintaining the black community and doing these kinds of stuff, right? And it's only through, unfortunately, many failures from black men and outside influence as well, where the black pool became limited. So unfortunately, some brothers might not be educated, and there's a history to that. Unfortunately, some brothers might be incarcerated, and unfortunately, some brothers might be struggling to maintain a certain kind of economic structure or standard, and all these plus some other things contributed to why the black woman felt it was necessary to open her options, right? And that's why they, to an extent, this divestment word came. But where the divestment word started expanding different, and this is obviously different kinds of black women, is where there actually is discuss for how they perceive black men to be acting. You see? And to me, it even bleeds into actually black people as a collective. But I think that black women have always been better custodians of maintaining black ideals and black society. Like, it's almost like black women understood certain things better than black men. There was always this like perpetual childhood that was going on in so many black men refusing to grow up and wanting to live the fancy lifestyle of, anywhere I lay my head, is my castle, blah, blah, that kind of stuff. So I think these are contributing factors of why we don't see the same dynamic between black men and black women. And you don't see too many black women making philosophies to justify what they're doing. More so, they tell like a hard truth where they say like, I can't find any good black men, whether it's true or not, but that's what they confess. While black men, it's at first it was more they just wanted to be, they fall for the marketing of the TV and the magazines, and here, let me show the dynamic of black men, right? And maybe even black women as well, that we have to be real aware. And this is something that's very distinct in black culture. Right? Let me not say black culture. That's too strong. When you look at, we understand that the black man and the white man historically have had a long kind of argy-bargy, destructive, kind of one-sided war, to be honest, right? For years, right? When you look at other social groups, right, you never tend to see the two combative historic enemies really in mass dating out each other. In Nazi Germany, the women who married the Nazi men, the Jewish women who married the Nazi men, when the war was over, they were shaved, all their heads were shaved, and they were walked through the streets, and probably ringing the bell saying shame, 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 this kind of stuff, right? So that was how it was perceived. However, black men don't necessarily see the one situation that at one point these people could benefit from your downfall, and two, while that was going on, your best ally in defense and person who was by your side was a black woman. This is an interesting way of processing things, and I think this is a failure that we need to highlight. Of, you know, what made that a reality, right? What made that a reality where you and I think we want to be aware of is when people say love has no color. If that was the case, we might see more black men dating Bangladeshi women, marrying Asian women, marrying people groups who generally have a closer cultural connection to black people, right? But they don't. The masses seem to be of European descent, right? And people might say because of where the population, but I don't see it that way. I think the marketing and the fetishization actually is working very well, and black men fall for that.
I agree.
You know,
Definitely about the women's sector, but I definitely think there's a point of insecurity coming out at this point because the reaction is it doesn't match the statement that's made. This is a them thing. Like you're talking to someone and they react like that. That's a them thing. It's a you thing. This is not me because you're going through something and you feel challenged in me saying that I believe in a constructive black man and a black woman because that's what you should want. It shouldn't automatically have to be, well, there's only one race, the human race. And I was just like,
Love the gaslighting.
Yeah,
exactly.
This and one thing I'm going to say that's going to be very controversial, but I think I have to say, and it isn't true in all cases, but when you debate with certain people, you have to be mindful of their history. And what I mean by that is there are many brothers and sisters who lived an error-prone, dedicated lifestyle, meaning for a long time, they were engaging in violent behavior or destructive behavior to where now they're seeking redemption. You see? Now they're trying to reverse the past. And unfortunately, many people who might live that kind of lifestyle, they might not be socially aware of some of these stuff because they're too busy doing something. And you've got to understand, like, when I would debate in Speaker's Corner, so many brothers will come up to that. There's so much stuff people don't get to see on the cameras, and that's why it'd be good if we actually had our own camera crew. But I would be approached by many young black men, and they would tell me, I've started researching history, I've started listening to some things you're saying, and I've realized that that after studying how black people were treated for many years, and many of the accomplishments we had, and seen some of the lovely dynamics that black people have contributed to and so forth, I find it almost impossible to harm another black person. But when I was younger, it's like, it's all I wanted to do. And it's like, it's interesting that, because
this is how important Sankofa is.
Yes.
And when you was talking, the brother even said, he said that, I might not know everything, or I might not be as knowledgeable in this field as you. Well, that's a problem that we should all take responsibility for, especially those of us who have kids or are going to have kids, who of us who are now the elders, that we need to stop relying on other people to educate our people, because this is the effect. This is what happens. What we're getting back is somebody else's education. This is what we're receiving now amongst us. If we do not know why it's so important for generational wealth, if you do not understand that every other race practices this, if you do not understand how you are seen, anywhere you go will affect you. Even if you do not care about Black Betterment, if Black Betterment succeeds and you do not care one iota about being black, you wish you wasn't black, you will benefit from it. Just like if a Jewish person steps anywhere, you automatically give him reverence that he must be wealthy, he could be into money, jewelry. Why? Not because of that individual, you don't know him, but because of his people and what they represent and how they've held themselves and the betterment they've done of their own people. And if they don't understand that, we're just getting fed back the bottom barrel education that we're getting back. We need to educate ourselves, because there is no way that if you do not know, not even just the history, right? People always goes back to slavery, but the politics of it all, the way that it still affects you now, how it's working covertly now. When you see how the differences between us and other nations, when you start seeing that, something has to awaken in you. But a lot of them don't. But a lot of them don't know this, and so education is actually key. And I know I always say to you, Brother Raven, like, I don't get why you bother, you know, and like we should just move forward. Like I don't get it. But when I watched the part of it that I saw there, I got it, because in a way you're feeding information. You're not combative. You're doing it with love, and you're explaining the basis. Even to me, it's tedious, because I'm just like, it's tedious for me, because I'm more of a move forward kind of, we should know this, but we don't all know this. And it's an example and a reminder of those of us who want better for us to look at this with love instead of frustration, and understand that this is important, because there is a real lack of knowledge of self, like real self. When we're talking about know thyself and know self, this is what we mean, why it's needed. Sankofa, it's necessary.
And sister, fantastic stuff. And before we introduce Brother Kel, amazing contributor, let me just say this. Yes, one thing I will say is certain strategies, like sometimes you are talking through someone to other people. I suspect that if anyone saw me talk this week and I mentioned certain words, they would have Googled those words or followed me. And because there's some things that resonate that maybe the brothers and sisters I was talking to didn't really catch up on, but they did it. And remember, our greatest performer or adversary, idea smith, whatever, is a person who is in their house, who hears something one of us says, but they have a better reach. They have a better way of expressing it. They have a better way to take what we're saying and make it easily consumable to the masses of people we might not understand. Like sometimes even Brother Raspek came on afterwards, and he was saying the same things I was saying, but he was saying it in a way that some of the brothers on the panel could digest it much more easier. You see? So that's why it's good to get a variable of many different brothers with similar philosophies and sisters philosophies who could actually articulate certain things in a way that certain groups can digest much more easily, because sometimes you only get 10 minutes or 5 seconds to make a statement. But I'll say this, within the 4D values, we have discernment and dedication. Yeah. And that's I'm practicing that then when I'm talking to people who I very well know in this particular instant will not understand anything I'm saying and will be very, very committed to insults and these kinds of stuff, right? However, through them, I will reach a smaller few who will see the inadequacies in what they're doing and want to come along and maybe be a part of the collective lifestyle of taking responsibility to fix black issues. But let me stop waffling. Brother Kel, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Yeah, bro, I'm all right. I just want to just conclude that there definitely needs to be a campaigning of a lot of booze and a lot of analysis, because I just came in from work and I was listening to what the African family saying in the panel, and one thing I noticed is that when the women were booing the brothers who are in an interracial relationship or agreeing with Mo Gilligan's thing, it caused a very intense effect. I believe that should be intensified, that there should be a lot of booze. When you got the footballers and the football fans are playing against each other, and you notice that the fans help the players to be more enthusiastic as well as play better. And there definitely needs to be a selection of black bearers that are booing the moment an African male or female goes out the race. And then there should be an analysis of it, while they're booing, because you are disfranchising, dismantling the the growth of the African family. I don't believe that there should be any form of mercy, Brother Raven, because from what I gathered, that the those who go out of their race, they're looking for acceptance. Mankind as a whole want to belong to a group and want to be accepted. So if the boos are making them feel uncomfortable, and there's an analysis of why they're getting booed, that should definitely be campaigned.
Did you guys want to add to that?
Bless up, Brother Cal.
Well, let me say this. On one of the debates that I had the other day, when I had clear rules about what a black betterer was, and one of the primaries was when you get married, you pick the woman or male, depending on who you are, whatever, in your group. Just by having those rules and realizing that someone either falls short or they have to stay committed, that then caused a lot of heartache, right? And I think, adding to what Brother Kel was saying, I will also add these concepts where you have actual clear defined rules. Remember, if you type in the word pro-black, and I could be wrong on this, because it was never defined openly about some rule sets, one of the primal, and this is part of black people being collectively inadequate, by the way. One of the primal things that you will see, you can check it now on Google, is if you type pro-black, you'll have a whole little forum saying, can you be pro-black and date non-black people, right? And what I'm saying is having rule sets and things to actually achieve and clear division that this word is reserved for these actions, and if you fall short of those actions, you cannot be described as these words. Yeah, and then we give all the people doing these words the you know, all the attention. Then that coupled with what Brother Kel was saying about the whole booing, this will then start giving value. Unfortunately, what we're seeing, and this is a black man falling short, is many black men openly don't value black women. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. Yeah. So we have to have a revaluing concept. But one thing I was saying to add to what Sister Kushi says is very important about reaching back. And Brother Kel brought up before in his way of talking about Pan-Africanism being taught, nationalism, sorry, black nationalism. And I agree with this in the sense that when you take a people or an idea or a concept and you pull it into a community for betterment, part of that strategy, is the lifestyle of looking out for your own. So you're going to help people get economically stronger, emotionally stronger. If we have a campaign to make, let's say we have a campaign to make black women the world's most beautiful women, as in it's a campaign, that's the goal, right? And it should be an easy campaign to execute, but let's say we're going to do it, right? Well, the byproduct is, if that is the conclusion, then everybody's going to want to be with a black woman. So part of that campaign should be how to make the woman more valuable, but how to appreciate her value by finding a constructive black man to show off her beauty with, if that makes sense. Because you have to have these kind of templates, or like, for example, there's a picture in, I'll show you, I think it's here. Now this is discussing some of our brothers and sisters in Australia who went through blah 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 blah. Why do you think so? Yeah, so we haven't covered, I think we covered this a few weeks ago, yeah. But this actually is, I think it's the first black Aboriginal model in the Australia continent or land, right? And this one is, this European is not a model, but she was here because she was getting privileges because somewhere in her ancestry allegedly was an Aboriginal person. But this black Aboriginal person who's now getting all the attention of being the world's most beautiful model, whatever. Well, and I don't know if it's still the same. When I was watching her documentary, and I could be wrong now, she had a European partner. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, yes, you're going to try to project people into the world's beautiful stage and all that kind of stuff. But there needs to be a philosophy that, yes, when you actually are up there and we're going to elevate you, there is a social responsibility that you use your platform, your beautifulness, to actually find another constructive, beautiful person of the same caliber, blah, blah, blah. So this is the thing that I think should also be instructed when we actually do try to elevate. And hopefully that correlates with Brother Kel's concept. Anyone else want to jump in?
I just want to jump in on that. There's a couple of things there. So to Brother Kel's point, and this is where a lot of, if I'll be honest with you, black men seem to be against, because you're saying as a football team, pretty much booing the opposition or booing the enemy and cheering for their team. And the problem is a lot of black men feel attacked. So I don't know whether that will actually have the opposite effect of you're going to drive more of a wedge between potential allies. I'm trying to think of an example. What's his name? Robert F. Smith. He's a billionaire in the US who regularly donates to black or HBCUs and black organizations. And I think if we were to go with that line of booing to try and almost cause, I suppose, stir up a conversation or a campaign, what you may have is these brothers saying, okay, I'm not even remotely going to reach back, even if they do have a non-black partner, because a lot of them do. And stats in the UK are bleak when it comes to, black power couples. I was looking at our MPs, I was looking at our footballers, I was looking at our really, really, let's be honest, rich elites. And I'm like, can I even find a black couple? Any of you? Can I do that? No. So I don't know. I don't know if that'll have an opposite effect. Because judging by the conversation that both you, Raven, and Empress Christie have, it sounds as if by doing that, you're just going to make it, I don't know, you're not going to build a bridge, you're going to sort of build walls.
Now, before Brother Kel jumps in,
here's the thing, brother. What is that here's the thing when it comes to us as a people, we do not believe anything is going to happen to us when we basically devalue our community. The black man behaves that way, brother, because he knows in his heart that the black women will support that black love, and the black man will support that black love. The community will support him. So this is why he's allowed and will get away with it. Same thing with the black woman as well. So sometimes, brother, there has to be rules and order marks, some form of punishment and some form of a treatment that will help a person to grow. For example, children, right? I don't believe you should beat children very hard. But I do believe in this, though, is that the child must know about discipline. If you touch that fire, you're going to have to sit in the corner for 5 minutes, right? If you keep doing it again, then it's going to be 10 minutes. The reason why we need these types of intense order marks, brother, why it matters is because we believe nothing's going to happen. If you look at the mafia, brother, right, the Italian mafia, is that when the Italians go against the best interests of each other, they get whacked. Do you understand? It's the same thing with the Asian community. It's the same thing in the European community. In our community, we can get away with things. So although, brother, I hear where you're coming from in regards to they will feel like they're being under attack. But brother, if we are in war with unsynchronized African descendants as well as non-African descendants, then attacking with strategies, with full force, in order to keep the race strong and strategic, it may have to be that way, my brother. All due respect to you.
No, I hear you. And to be fair, I don't disagree with the punishment part. I think probably what will that be is probably the biggest thing. Because even looking at what you've just brought up here, Raven, you're right. There's no, I was just mentioning, there's no punishment for it. I say punishment, there's no sort of recompense. They're accepted, their offspring are accepted as we are. And yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, here's what it is, right?
Every time Brother Raven puts on that picture, it hits hard. It just hits hard because it's the truth of the fact staring at you.
Yes,
and these are MPs. I'm not talking about football. These are MPs. These are business class. These are the ones who are actually
exactly, brother. The people who are supposed to care about our welfare.
Yeah.
And just so you guys know, those who are new, this is a picture of all the MPs I could find in the UK, and not one of them is with. Well, they're all with white women. One's with a white man because he's the same gender-loving person. And this is what I'm showing you, that it's pattern perceptions, right? And I was listening to a debate the other day with this the gentleman David Lammy, and what was interesting about the debate he was talking, it's something I wanted to bring up at a certain point. He was talking about something politics, identity politics, and in one of his speeches he said he wants to be he doesn't think it's fair that he can't be viewed as an English. Now, for those who don't know, English is identified as a Germanic ethnic group. Yeah. While when you become a citizen of Britain, they see you as a British or a British citizen, right? But he doesn't want that. He wants to be seen as ethnically English. So when you have a person, yeah, who chooses to be with a non-black person multiple times, and then in conversations and political debates that has nothing to do with being English or whatever, puts it forward that he wants to be viewed as ethnically English, you have to ask. And then I think there was a brother Dean Oka, who was on the show not too long ago, and he brought a video for them. He wasn't best pleased that they had a picture or a video of Brother David Lammy laughing at the concept of dedicated parties who want to be dedicated to black betterment and black ideas and black people. He was quite not best pleased to see him laughing at such concept, and he was saying, I think, something similar to what Brother Kerr was saying, like, what would the punishment be for these kinds of behaviors? Very interesting. So before you guys jump in, I would, to add to what Brother Kerr was saying, is, well, I'm not going to say boo, and even though that might be the greatest thing, maybe that might be a strategy we have to do. Before I even say boo, I do want to refine the chair, and cheering black partners and having a Black Love campaign, if I can find that. Black Love campaign, whatever, is important, because just for you, remember, everything I do, let's observe. In the discussion I had yesterday or the day before, because my memory's not too good, what I said is I see a value in constructive black man with constructive black woman, and if you want to be considered a black betterer, that's one of the rule sets. Now, what I was doing, I was actually highlighting things to do and valuing that kind of stuff. So I wasn't talking about not doing that. I was talking about doing that, and already they had that reaction. So I think that, at least from that dynamic, we know that if we have rule sets of rules of how to love each other and stuff like that, that's another way that you can highlight people who are unsynchronized and give them a choice to either ship up and get this kind of attention or do what else to do.
Well, Brother Raven, it goes back to what Francis Fanon, in his book Black Skin, White Mask. I believe you've read that before. If you could send that into for the African descendants, is that whenever the black man or the black woman looks into the mirror, they see themselves as dissatisfied. So naturally, they'll see their counterpart as dissatisfying in looks, and they believe that by going for the European's woman, that will bring him closer to the European man, vice versa with the European woman as it pertains to the African woman. I believe, brother, like, you see, in order to apply rules, brother, there has to be enforcement. I'll give you an example. In the Middle East, right, if you marry, if you're, for example, a male and you are not from the Middle East, right, then the woman loses all of her privileges in regards to passing down that generational wealth. Do you understand what I mean, brother? Now, they're saying that you can't mix, but they're very adamant, brother, in protecting the generational wealth, because the moment the man comes in and he creates with a Middle Eastern woman, is that naturally the money goes to the man, so to say, and then he can do whatever he wants with that generational wealth. When it comes to us, brother, as I said before, there is no recompense from wherever we go out about race. So in order to apply these instructions, or due respect to you, brother, there has to be like an enforcement with it. In everything in society and that, right, there's always enforcement. I'm not saying that we go out there and, baseball bats and crowbars and whips and stuff like that. But what I am saying is that there has to be an intensification, that when you do go out your race and you dare speak ill of those who are practicing the normality of African tradition, you need to be booed by any means necessary, brother.
let me also add that I've put in a link as well. I can't really share it, but I've put in a link as well for the book, and also there's a blog about the first Pan Africanists in Africa. Sorry, and what you find is like there are you have like 4 or 5 who have white wives, which is very shocking when you see when you and I do wonder, do we have any European presidents who have African wives? I just wonder that. It's something we should research. That would be interesting things to do. Um, yeah, I think we definitely do a love campaign, um, and and and, and making black love amazing and branded really well is something that should be part of the strategy. And I'm not gonna disagree with Brother Kel. Like Brother Kel, most of the things he says is right, and some people are shocked by it. But if you want results, I understand Brother Kel has a good result ratio, and no doubt you will get some kind of result from that behavior, no doubt. And to add to the mafia analogy, uh, in in Italy, in the gangsters, which some of the black rappers really want to emulate for some reason, um, you find that you can't be in charge if you're not what they call fully Italian or Sicilian, right? And also, if you were to pick another partner and be that offspring is still welcome to be in the gangster, the mob, whatever it is, but they cannot be made of a certain level. Uh, and they wouldn't do business with people who just weren't Italian at all, within inside the actual organization. So already you have many groups that understand how to maintain certain things because of family and this kind of stuff. At least originally, anyway, before they all start telling each other. But yeah, so I'll just highlight that. But anything you brothers would like to say? Let me not keep waffling.
I just think that it's interesting because when you look around, you see that this happens all the time, and there's never a big outcry. But it just seems to be an outcry even within us when it happens to us. So it's just very telling.
Yeah, and to that point, I think the reason why is because we are just so inclusive in everything that we do. And again, I think a part of it is because we do want to be accepted by the mainstream culture. Yeah. So because of that, we just almost forget about ourselves, or we seem to have an issue with ourselves in terms of building up ourselves, self-esteem issues. So all of this screams of we always want to be too inclusive to our own detriment, where we're actually going to wipe ourselves out of existence. I was looking at the transatlantic slave trade, and we go to like South America and Brazil, just after slave trade, I think it was about 60-70% African black. If you look at Brazil now, because of the mixture, because of the because what the Europeans did is that they had a mantra basically to what's the word, better the race.
Racial whitening is called.
Yeah. So what happened is a lot of them, their admixture completely wiped them out. Yeah. And if you look at Brazil now, it's it's almost European in nature. If you look at the adverts, the models, everything, they look like what's her name, Giselle or Adriana Lima, as opposed to someone who's like dark skinned. It's crazy. So there's a lot of what's the word, programming that's gone on.
So what we covered this a few years, and I have the documents somewhere in where I can't find it. But basically, what we were talking about is, so for those that know, and we showed the whole. I tried to show the practice being done in Canada and Australia, and this kind of stuff. Where what happened is there's a process known as racial whitening, where the European Brazilians were very scared that the enslaved people outnumbered the non-enslaved or the enslavers. And they started first trying to invite Europeans to come in and own land, but then they started promoting propaganda about, the better families, the white families. So breed out your blackness, this kind of stuff, and this philosophy still kind of goes on, and that's why they have these clear words of mulatto and those kind of words that talk about certain kind of mixes and how you get this kind of look, whatever. And one thing we were talking about here is they've defined what racial whitening is, as in like trying to kill black people, whatever. But we can always define what racial blackening is. And for me, I was pushing forward that racial blackening is all black people practicing black betterment and love, and including economics in our movement. So we are maintaining this black identity, and it's seen as racial blackening, and that's so. To challenge racial whitening, the racist practice of trying to kill black people, we have a practice known as racial blackening, where all people identified as black stay with black people and build up our economic structure and this kind of stuff. This practice was also going on in the Canadians. I forgot the word. My memory's not as good as it once was, but they were kidnapping the children and then forcing them to forget their language and religion. And then they would give them to be adopted by Canadian parents or European parents in the Canadian zone, whatever. And that was one of the ways. And then have them marry European people, this kind of stuff. And then in Australia, this was going on as well. One with the Tasmanians was just killed them straight up, but the other one was where it was Australia that actually defined it. Like, how do we turn a black man white? And I want to say they said 7 generations. I covered this and I was there. Maybe it was 3 or 7 generations where they said, if we can get a certain class of white person to be with the Aborigines, then we can actually introduce the Aborigines as white people. And the reason why that, obviously that's very diabolical and this kind of stuff. But the area of interest that I jumped in on it was in most non-European lands where Europeans live, there's always cry for reparations, and you're not going to get it. But when we start seeing people getting back land for damages done in the past time, you have these 2 individuals here, both are identifying as Aborigine. But what you find is this woman here is getting reparations and land and stuff like this and benefits for being Aborigine, while this person or the people like this are actually alcoholic and living on certain rundown kind of towns. We showed a documentary a few months back. So this practice is no different from in the Americas, where the American Indian brothers and sisters out there, what they're doing. And you find that European-looking American Indians are also getting the casinos and the land and this kind of stuff, right? And representing them on adverts and TV shows and all this kind of stuff. I'm saying to the Black Africans and the Black Betterment, this kind of stuff, yes, they have no chance in hell at the moment of giving you any kind of reparations. But I suspect that when they might consider it is where a black man, a so-called black man, a so-called black woman walk up to them and they are indistinguishable between a black man and a white man. They can't tell the difference. So, okay, we'll give you your reparations now. Because that's the pattern I've seen around in Canada, America, and Australia. That's the pattern I've seen.
Brother Raven.
Yes,
I got a question for you. It's very controversial, but as well as something that we need to unpack, brother.
Mm-hmm.
You know the Black Betterment builders, right?
Yes.
I'm going to use your word now. I suspect, right, that they may come a time, brother, that due to the dynamics between the Black Betterers, that they may want to, brother, try and rise up and overthrow the Black Betterers. What would be your solution to tackle that?
Well, here's what it is. There are clear definitions in actions, and this would almost be adjacent to equivalent saying the vegetarians or the pescatarians raising up to tackle the vegans. There are clear distinctions in what defines things. Now, in this diagram here, if I can find it, give me 17 seconds. Oh, here we go. Ooh, frozen. There we go. I have no idea where. There we go. So in this diagram here, what I'm saying as a template, Black Betterers or Black Betterment builders, depending on what they want to run, to go and form their own fellowships. Whoever is forming the fellowships has their own rule set. So the rule set might be, in order for you to be in this, you have to be of these kind of persuasions. Yeah, that person, those people have to decide how they want to run their ship. If their ship is you have to be a Black Betterer, so be it. If their ship is both, so be it. If their ship is the other one, that's so be it. But the idea is to create lifestyles that can actually have life of their own. So the perfect example, I know I'm using this again like old yesterday's wine, but vegans is the perfect example. There is no leader in vegans. There is no grand arc super leadership. It's a lifestyle that everyone seems to be able to get on code with. Everyone seems to understand, here's the principles, and here's what we're going to do. And obviously you get some radicals and some blah, blah, blah. But generally, it's a lifestyle. It's harder to stop lifestyles than it is like one movement or one dude doing it was. But what I would say is, in our cases, if we decide to form fellowships, we have to establish what are the basic necessity of of the joining factor. Now, look, I'm being honest. Many people said that maybe I was very strict in the past and I ran too much of a tight ship. So every time I form philosophies, I try to be merciful, right? I understand that not everyone can achieve certain kind of things. So what I decided is, in this quest for Black people progressing, we have a little bit of everything for everyone. For those who want to be the black belts, pun intended, yeah? They're black bearers, meaning they see all these things that are necessary and they strive to be it. That's their black belt. For those who just want to come in and throw someone over the table and get a yellow belt or a white belt, then they can be Black Betterment builders. Now, this ain't saying that the contributions of the builders or the bearers is on the table and we're judging like that. Because once again, you might come across a very rich man, black man, or let's say rich black woman, sorry. Now, and with this black woman, she's married to a Chinese man. She's very integrated in Japanese culture, and she's adopted 10 Indian children, whatever, right? But she's never really heard the lifestyle Black Bear. She was raised by 2 Australian white women, whatever, right? So she hasn't heard any kind of lifestyle that was telling her you need to take responsibility for fixing Black people. But as she finds she's well too integrated in this new lifestyle she's practicing, and she can't leave. So with her, she goes, you know what? I can't actually be fully dedicated because I can't leave my family and blah, blah, blah. But what I can do is I can dedicate £8 million to building a school dedicated to teaching Black boys how to program JavaScript or whatever, right? So in that thing, we give her a prop. She's a Black builder. Thank you, sister. That's very helpful. Rather than casting her to the wind.
The reason I said that for, brother, because you brought something very important, and it should be notified that there are Pan-Africanists that are married to Europeans, right? And we have to be honest, brother. You know what I mean? And what I've noticed, brother, growing up and analyzing the Pan-Africanist structure and stuff, right, is that the non-Africans always seem to be using, and I'm not trying to cause division, we have to be truthful, the socialist Pan-Africanism against the nationalist Pan-Africanism. It's always happened, brother, and that's why I was saying, like, with this amazing blueprint with the Black Betterers and the Black Betterment builders, right, is that we could really say that the Black Betterment builders, they are socialists, and they could be used like the Pan-Africanist socialists were used against the Pan-Africanist nationalists.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you could use that analogy, but I still stick to the concept that ideas with guides and lifestyles travel so much more faster than certain type of movements. Movements that are spawned from ideas and lifestyles, if ever they get destroyed by enemies of Black progress, whatever, the blueprint still remains for the next chapter to take and run with it. So that's the idea, and that's why. But in that idea, there's a fundamental rule in it. Yeah, it's only Black people. Only. This is something we've forgotten, and there's a whole legacy of why that's necessary. So any word people get called, there's a defense mechanism, a true defense mechanism, of why it's necessary for Black people, helping Black people, Black issues for betterment. Why the lifestyle. Go ahead, brother.
Just want to jump in and just sort of pose a question. So, John, you've got the Black Better, the builders who may not live the lifestyle as the Black Betterers. Yeah. So, is a situation, for example, you had that page where it had all the MPs who are basically our de facto leaders for our constituency.
Right.
Do we accept their leadership Because do you know because they could be called builders, but they're in a position of power. So
hold on, let me add to that. And this is very, I'm being very clear. And the reason why I catch hell everywhere I go is because I do mantras, isn't it? I have fundamental starting points. And people have to define to me, what is it that you are doing for Black people specifically? You see? Meaning that this is done for you specifically. I think you look in America, of the sister who was Jamaican Indian heritage. I think they asked her a question about what you're doing
Kamala
for
Harris.
That's the one. I think that's her name. They asked her, what is it that you're doing for Black people specifically? And she said, nothing. No, I'm not just for that kind of stuff. But a few months later, whatever, she was doing things specifically for Chinese people. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I can't jump back on this. One of the fundamental rules, you cannot be swayed in any way, and this is through experience. Black betterment is only for Black people. A non-Black person cannot practice Black betterment. A non-Black person can be included in the cannot be included in the process. No, it is Black people. Black people helping Black people on Black issues. Once you understand that fundamental first, you can actually we can look at the brothers and sisters just brothers at this point, right? Please go through the whole thing again. We can look at all these things here, yeah? There we go. So these brothers could not be Black betterers, and they probably wouldn't want to. Just like the brothers the other day, would probably insult their very soul.
True, but can they be? But they can be the builders, though, can't they? So they can be the Black
builders. They can aspire to be builders. So what I'm saying is sometimes, because I'm in many organizations that confess they want to help Black people, and the reason why many people don't necessarily want me to join certain things is because one of the roles I play is I'm the code maker. I make the codes that the organization needs to abide by, and that's where you start seeing the fear factor, because I start saying things like no fornication, no drug taking. And there's so many Black people who want to fornicate and drug take in business and stuff like that. No, right? And then also when we get to a certain point of lifestyle in that, we set a goal. The Black woman is the Black man's responsibility, and the Black man is the Black woman's responsibility. These are fundamental first. This is obviously going to have many people, preferably on this page that we're watching, have supreme heart attacks. They won't be able to get to the door. They'll be dying before they receive the words they said. So you let them know that they can't be Black betterers, but if they wish to be considered any kind of merit in the Black community or the Black betterer community, because let's be clear, it is very true that Black people are not a monolith, right? So the idea is to have rules and structure. So I'm talking about Black betterers. I'm talking about Black people who want to help Black people, yeah? And by default, Black people are going to benefit. But I'm more comfortable to talk about Black betterers than Black people, because you're going to have the whole be like, you don't talk for me, I'm married to this woman, and I love the world and fireworks in the sky and that kind of stuff. So that's why rules are important. That's why when you go up to a vegan and you say, I'm a vegan who eats cows, they go, no, you're not. And no one takes them serious. As a matter of fact, no one even says it, because it's so clearly defined that it is impossible to be a vegan, and eat meat. That's why it's impossible to marry. If once you get married, the choice of your ultimate life partner has to be of the same people group. It's just a standard first. I mean, there's no debate for that. I don't care about when you're in parties and you're having a good time and you're drinking alcohol and you're meeting that's not to do with me. I'm talking about serious stuff now, because people always don't want to take it there. I'm saying that when you decide to actually have a life partner, have a family, which is very important, you decide on the woman or the man. It depends on the person talking about, right? So we're so collectively inadequate that in the philosophies I'm putting out, I need to go back to the basics. So we start with Black people helping Black people on Black issues, and then we break it down to campaign, break it down to certain fundamental first. Black love. Now, of course, I don't want to be that robot who everyone fears. Like, how can we live this way? This guy must live inside a machine. So we have two belts, isn't it? We have the black belt and the white belt. The black belt is a black betterer, and the white belt is a black betterment builder. And I don't mean that as any insult. I'm just saying that yes, it takes much more effort generally to be 100% dedicated to black people than picking and choosing. But they're both valuable, and we should not mistreat people who decide they want to participate. And the reason I say that is, unfortunately, in the black power and the black liberation, this kind of stuff movement, we love them, and we're always going to love them. But at a certain point, it's a minority group talking to a minority group that very skilled people can't seem to participate in. So we don't want to dilute the message. That's a no-no. But at the same time, we don't want to segregate the brothers and sisters who might have very particular skills who can contribute to betterment. So this was formed. Don't get wrong. You might have said it yesterday. People were still getting angry and hallelujah.
Yeah, as long as there's kind of like a clear, I hate using this word hierarchy, because there's going to be a hell of a lot more like betterment builders just based on what you showed me there, which again, they're in high places. So they're not like, they're very intelligent people.
Yeah.
But their allegiances will be kind of divided just based on the fact that they have a mixed family.
Oh, of course. Listen. I agree. Yeah, I hear it, bro. And I'll say this to say that. Yeah, I'll say this, that essentially what is hopefully one of the practices that will happen is you'll get fellowships of black betterers doing small things, right? Big things, depending on what it might be. But you're going to get the odd, exceptional behavior from a builder. And that's fine. That's just what it is. But the betterer should never be putting all their eggs or all their bets on the builder, because for the reason you said, that it's almost like a random game of 21 or whatever. It's very random what's going to come from that deck. But what could come from could be a massive win. But what I'm saying is, through using strategy, social strategies, I don't want to completely marginalize unsynchronized brothers and sisters who have been trained in the system to not do for self. I have to recognize that, because don't get me wrong, some of the brothers I'm not saying any names, but some of the brothers I've debated, even if tomorrow they agreed with me, it might take them 27 years to undo what they've learned. You know what I mean? I might take him in a room with black people and they might have a heart attack. Start talking about black banks and black shops and black love. They might have a heart attack. Whoa, what's this? Yeah. It's because they've been so indoctrinated with behavioral patterns that is unbecoming of black people, or are set to limit black people's progression in economics or whatever the field might be. So all we can do is have, and I don't like using the word elite group, but I will be using it because it's a word that causes much controversy. And because I don't swear and I don't use derogative language when I debate, I like having a bit of rumble words. So I'm going to use the word. But the difference between the elite I'm talking about is this elite of choice. I'm talking about elite black people who choose to help black people. And that allows them to be considered the elite, rather than someone who's born with rich parents and a king and no one can ever be that. I'm saying all you need to do to be part of the elite is, be a black betterer and be high principle. That's important, because people will use error-prone behavior, black betterment, to destroy it, as they do every time. So high principle black betterers is the elite fellowship that I would personally like to make. And with that elite fellowship, many mediums, many assets, many institutions will be made from that, and we'll have a name. I've got many names. I will design a logo, but I'll just be one pillar. There'll be other people out in the internet land or around England or the world who create their own fellowships dedicated to their own purpose. And the idea, I think I'm trying to think of I'm trying to think of an analogy of how these things work. And
before we go any further, sorry. I think Empress, did you want to say something just before you go any further? Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. If you want to say something, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I did. Yeah, it was on fire though. Raveners.
Look, sister, you're important. You carry on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, brother. Why it matters as well. So I was gonna have a question to you, brother. So basically, the whole concept of pro-black, as you said, is very diluted. So, everyone has their own definition of it. So you've made your the Black Betterment definition clear here, right? So say if we replace it for what is known as pro-black, but then you within this and your philosophy, Pan-African groups would be welcome. For example, if there was a meeting, for example, right?
Yeah.
And as Brother Cal said, then you'll have people who will have women who are outside of their race, right? But they deem themselves for Black Betterment, even probably a black betterer, right?
They won't be able to if they're married to a non-black person, they are no longer a black betterer. At very best, they're a multitask black betterment builder who does multiple things, but they lose that ranking. It's a fundamental first.
Okay, all right. Thank you for making that clear. And also, when you do this event, for example, I'm assuming the black builders will be welcomed.
Yeah, so there has to be division, not division. That's wrong. It has to be levels, I guess, right? So I think the Nation of Islam might be a good example. I think they sometimes do open nights where everyone's welcome to come in off the street, and black people, whatever, and hear a message and hear what things about, and then they have dedicated people who are actual members, right? I think similar things like there will be seminars and all this kind of stuff where people come in, but when I talk about fellowships, and once again, and what I was going to say before I stopped talking before was the concept of I think wargaming they call it, right? There's this hobby where they sell these kind of like war figures, and you can get African ones as well, which is great. But where people they take these war figures and they have wars on tables. But what's interesting about these things is they'll give you a set packet, but how you decorate it, how you paint it, and how you build it up is up to you as an individual. And I think to an extent, Black Betterment and Black is like that, as in there's a fundamental template, about what is what. And then the next step I'm pushing forward, which is here, brothers and sisters. There we go. Yeah, it's to form fellowships, isn't it? In the form of a fellowship, one person or many people have to come together, right? So the idea is just say, Brother White Matters. He has this concept that might be so he doesn't necessarily believe in booing people. Let's just pretend. Let's go that, right? So what he does is he forms a fellowship of black betterers who want to specialize in training girls how to be programmers and make Java, and teaching black people in wherever how to make African food and own a restaurant, whatever the purpose is, right? He has that fellowship of 10, 20, 30, 40 people, and they just do that. That's his fellowship of their fellowship. They have a name. It might be the Plantain Committee or whatever, I don't know. And it's a Black Betterment committee called the Plantain Committee, in it. And they're in charge of that. They're using the lifestyle and the philosophy to do that. And that's theirs. Now, Brother Kel might go, okay, I'm going to form my own fellowship with maybe Empress Kushti and 17 other people they met on some journey. And all we're going to focus on is getting black schools and black businesses in the area of Manchester, whatever. Yeah. Now, naturally, certain people are going to have bigger goals. So, for example, there might be one football player who influences all the other football players. They've all got black wives, yay, right? But they've got tons of money, and they might form a fellowship called Blacks United, pun intended, yeah. And obviously, their goals might be bigger. Their goals might be bigger. I'm not trying to be smart. Their goals might be bigger in the sense that they want to actually what's bigger than that? They might want to make a media company with their money that plays dedicated black shows of a certain kind of entertainment and cultural value. But each person can do that on their own. You don't necessarily have to have everyone under one banner doing one thing, although that is a possibility. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's the way I try to devise things.
It makes sense because basically what I was getting to is because I was in a group of like-minded individuals, right? Mm-hmm. And this topic came up. Mm. And it was so surprising how it went, because certain people would say, if, for example, in your particular thing, would someone be able to come who had a white wife? And certain people were saying that, you know, if there was an event and it was any event, some people saying that no, she shouldn't be able to come. But then some people would say, yes, she should be able to come because that black man and that individual would feel a way that he couldn't bring his wife. So it was very interesting that there was just this back and forth. So I just wanted to see what, you know.
Clearly defined rules are important. Now, here's what it is. Essentially, I don't have any problems with any non-black person coming to the finished product of a black organization. What do I mean by this? So just say us four decide to make a online store and we sell a secret recipe of jello fries. Yeah, like how to get instant jello fries, which is probably impossible, but we try to do it. That process, what we're going to do, we're going to be behind the scenes. We're going to come up with the ingredients. We're going to probably get a beautiful company in Africa to source us the ingredients. Who knows? And we're network there, and then we're going to put it on our website, which is programmed by some guys in Zimbabwe or whatever. And then we're going to sell it.
So all the strategic that you just did there would be done by Black Betterers, right?
That's right. Yeah. So it might be just us four other Black Betterments in this crew. And then we look out to other Black Betterers or Black Betterment builders to network with, because sometimes with Black infrastructure, you don't get all the skills. Hence why I recommend teaching the skills, right?
Yeah.
But does that make sense? But then when the end product is made, the wife of this person you're talking about can buy as many jello fries as she likes. You're not going to put on her wallet. She can spend £4 million on jello fries. We're never going to stop her.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah,
I just thanks for clarifying because I just think that question has come up to me, so I just wanted to ask you.
But what I'm saying is, when you join fellowships, right, there has to be a purpose and a rule set. So it's like this fellowship, these are the rule sets, right? All members must have these values, and this is the thing we're trying to do. I've made an example here that there's the lifestyle of Black Betterment, and 7 people form a fellowship. And what they're trying to do is make a media, a business, and education based upon, Black people, whatever, Black people, a Black orientated concept, or just a Black owned concept. It could be, you could sell boots, whatever, it's economics or whatever, I don't know, right? But this is the kind of guidance I have to give, because if you let Black people,
it will get tricky and it will get sticky. We've seen so many times that people don't like to be excluded, and if the Black Betterment was to move forward, it is likely that you'd have meetups or gather-ups, correct?
Yes.
So I can totally imagine someone saying, look, why can't I come? Now, if you're saying it was like an event for sponsoring or we're trying to raise money, then I can understand why you'd open it up to everything else. Everyone, right? Everyone in the community, come and do it. Like I said, it's the final product. But it's the behind the scenes I could see an issue with, right? So if there was a membership meeting that you wanted to take things somewhere, or you wanted to talk about investments in something else, now that's when I think things will start getting sticky and tricky, because people like to complicate things. People don't like to feel excluded.
Okay,
so that's what I want to make it clear. You see the difference, because you're going to have both type of events happening, right?
Yeah. Well, look, what I'm saying is, in every event you're doing, let's break it down. I've started maybe 70 shows where I've opened the show, right? I think I've opened all of them to it, right? And there's not a show where I don't say, after much research, I've unfortunately concluded that currently Black people are collectively inadequate. And I go on to say, I'm going to send out a link, and I want people to practice the 4D values: dignity, discipline, dedication, and discernment. I then say, please don't use derogative terms. I then define what Black Betterment is: Black people on Black issues. That's a lifestyle. And then I have to read the copyright stuff because people can shut the show down. And then, we go into the thing. That process, I would recommend for anything you're doing. You clearly define it. You have rule sets. You go, but it's not just that. When you're actually building your fellowship, I'm recommending, if you want strong bonds, it's through tried and tested means. For example, us four talking, in it, yeah? We're espousing certain beliefs and certain ideas. We're having bonds, in it. We're filtering things that we think work and don't work. If I just went to speaker school and I said, come on, black guys, let's do something, I'll guarantee you everyone's going to have their own ideas. Everyone. Yeah. That's why you have to have a filtering process. Yeah. But the Black Betterment is part of that filtering process. It's a set of rules. So that's why when I mention the rules, you see the people who can't do it, they start hullabaloo, don't they? Chairs are flying everywhere. Yeah. Because you define the rules. Now, fair enough, they're upset that they don't qualify. But that's how life is. Like, the good thing about Black Betterment, or any kind of lifestyle geared towards black people persevering, is you define it and you don't allow benchmark rebranding. You don't allow it. And you go, every black person by their birthright are allowed to be a part of this if they so choose. One of the problems we have in our community, and it's something I'm trying to work on, is we don't value things. Black men are not valuing black women. Some black women ain't valuing black men. You know, not black people not valuing black businesses. We have to create the structure where we value something. How do we value things? We become consistent. We become dedicated. I mean, it's in the 4D values, right? We have rules and we stick by the rules. Brother Carl was very kind by giving the gangster analogy. And the reason why, not that we should be focusing on crime, this kind of stuff, but what was most interesting about the gangster analogy is they were petrified to be labeled a rat. Obviously because they got killed by it, but also the social implications of being a rat. It became more than just to tell people. It's like, it was like the ultimate insult, isn't it? They wanted to be made. They were making sure they picked Italian wives because they wanted to have the opportunity to become made. Yeah. So there was a value system. Unfortunately, I don't want to say black culture because I don't like using that term, but there's so many culturalized concepts where devaluing something is what is part of the culture. You have certain songs where the concept is to devalue black stuff. And well, we played it this morning, didn't we? We started. But brother White Matters want to speak. What do you like to say?
Yeah, no, so I didn't want to take the conversation elsewhere, but I did want to sort of ask this is, do you have any sort of economic blueprint as to what, because part of what I think this needs to be about is power, and one of the power bases is our economic base, how we spend the money, what we tend to do with it, whether, like I said, I believe you mentioned banks. Is there anything that you discussed talking about economics? How should we move with our finances? Where should we spend? Where shouldn't we spend? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, on the tangible first step level, the easy first step level, just to support. This is like, and I think brother Kel brought this up as well. But what it was there's certain easy wins, like just casual wins, where from a social standpoint, we can do certain things where we have posters of a product and the CEO. So it might be Mega Malt or Ultra Malt, I can't remember which one it is, and the CEO, and Duns River and the CEO. And we just post that. And we go, here's the bro, here's the CEO, right? Maybe even here's their family, I don't know, right? And then you let people know the products people can buy. That's just like, so that's just economic awareness of products that are really owned by black people that you're going to buy a malt anyway. Why not buy that one? But then there's certain infrastructure that you might want to do in it. Me personally, I run a network of called Mount Melon, and I've got thousands of people in there who just network on particular activities. So I'm saying that if you guys want to start, I mean, it happened before that there was a guy quite a few times, not necessarily in Mount Melon, it speaks school, which is a bit dodgy, but the person has an idea, they want to start a bank, they get other people, they have meetings, and they try to do that kind of stuff. You know, I specialize in particular kind of skills, right? So when it comes to branding, marketing, app design, videos, media creation, I've got a history in it, yeah? But you asked me how to run a doctor's nurse firm, I couldn't do it, right? So you would have to find someone in the black network who knows about that kind of stuff. And then, you know, that's what you do. But the goal is to create black infrastructure that we then brand and market that people go to.
No, I see what you're saying. Because there's a few things I've seen. For example, there's called Kwanda.co. It's almost like it runs like a, I suppose we'll call it back in there, partner or susu, I think it's in like West African culture, in which all it is a case of you have villages, they call it. You all band together and you donate a fee. Choices how much you want to. I think the minimum is like £10 or £5 a month. And then what you get to do, you get to vote on initiatives, which the criteria is a black business or a black initiative, and they will distribute the funds. I think it's every quarter, every so period, to those initiatives that has been voted in by the villagers. So that was things like that, which is really, really good, I thought.
Definitely. Family.
That sounds great. Can you post that link, please?
Yeah,
because post the link because I typed it. I think I spelled it wrong. I got a Japanese retired wrestler. I don't think that's what you're talking about.
no, it's definitely not that. But no,
Yeah.
links in the private chat. So
Yeah,
feel free to post it in the main chat if you wish to, Raven.
Okay, let me put it
Brother
now.
Raven,
Yes, Brother Cup.
Brother Raven, you know, I have no doubt when it comes to the economical side, like, you know, what you presented, you know, it definitely can without shadow that I've used a couple of your blueprints in networking, and it's very successful. The only thing I have problems with, brother, and I'm only saying this because I'm for the best interest of our people, is that there needs to be some written warnings and order marks for the African descendants who have a non-African parent and the African descendants who are in an interracial relationship. These two groups, brother, they're our people and we love them. However, brother, their political science could be detrimental to the black betterers. Why am I saying this for? Historically, those two groups from our family have been heavily used that has detriment and cause a setback in our liberation. And I was wondering if you could perhaps, if there could be some warnings or some form of a strategy to keep them in check, to remind them that you're for the race first and not your desire or your uncertainty.
Yeah, what I would say, and hopefully the guidelines within Black Betterment is very clear, and I know I keep saying the same thing, but it's as strict as veganism. Black Betterment is black people helping black people on black issues. I mean, if you check me on Speaker's Corner, you realize that many people lost their head when I said this at first, and they were trying to give me so many breakdowns. Like, what if a black man adopted a non-black child and they wanted to come? I go, well, if the requirement is they're teaching black children how to develop motherboards, then no, it doesn't work that way. It's very specific, yeah. And unfortunately, there's going to be people who don't qualify, but that's life. I mean, I would say you're going to do things for women and men can't come, but obviously we've got new movements now with people identifying and stuff. So I can't speak on that. But what I can say is, we don't do transracialism. We don't do that. A Chinese man wants to feel black, so he's black. It has to be a lineage, a history, identifiable, phenotype, this kind of stuff. So. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but in the very nature of what we're doing, I think they were talking about this yesterday. There was a famous brother who's identified as biracial, and that brother does wonderful work, speaks very, very good. And I think they mentioned it when they were not best pleased with me, and they were saying something like, this individual brought his mother to a meeting where a famous Pan-African was coming over to talk about, Pan-African and Black Betterment, this kind of stuff, whatever. And there was a bit of a hullabaloo because this biracial speaker, whatever, invited their European mother, and then everyone was like, "This is out of all this bad." And I can understand where they're coming from, but I say this: was it defined beforehand that this event was strictly for people of African descent? Because that's important. Because once again, by not defining things, you're expecting people to all be synchronized in mind state, and that is definitely not good. I mean, this is why people don't invite me to certain things, because when I write rules, I break down very deeply, like no alcohol, no smoking, no fornicating. You'll think that in some parties you think that this is what we expected, but no, sir. You will get people who come to banking debates drunk. So you have to clearly define what is acceptable. It's unfortunate, but also who is welcome at this stuff. And that's just what it is. But remember, I would always say there is always a reason why you're doing something, because if you let someone else tell the narrative, they'll spin it like you're a wicked kind of bad person. That's why I start every show by acknowledging I recognize that Black people are collectively inadequate, and there's so much holistic healing that needs to be done. There is a value in being in a room with just Black people working on issues. And as we know, if you bring a non-Black person in that room, there's going to be much confusion, much crying, much argument, and much silencing. As in, there's many Black people, I suspect some of the people I spoke to might be under this bracket, who feel that they can't say certain things. Yeah? Like, I think we need to stop viewing Black people as on the same level, not internally a potential, because potential is unlimited for Black people, but Black people do not have the same history as any other people. Then this is, once you're identified as being a sub-Saharan African or a Black person or a Negro or connected to that concept, right? There is a certain level of hardship that is guaranteed and in certain aspects. So this truth needs to be part of the code. Like, here's why we do things. Now, we're not saying that because we want non-Black people to feel comfortable. We're saying that because we want Black people to feel comfortable, because unfortunately, as Brother Kel says, being closely connected to them, they will do everything to make non-Black people feel kind. Now, I end by saying this. When people talk about non-Black allies, and I'm sure there's many out there, I'm sure there is in some dimension, but when they talk about this, think about this now, right? Take yourself out of actually being in our community. Let's step back and look and imagine if we saw a Romy person, I think they call it the Rome community, the ancient Indian travelers who people mistreat, and they developed a culture of begging to survive and this kind of stuff. If one of them decided that they no longer value that way of living, and they recognize that they want to fix their community so they can start actually, rather than begging and doing some of these things from town to town, but maybe hold a business. If we as Black people saw them, right, and we saw them fighting amongst each other because one of them, for some reason, met a Black man by the popcorn stand or something like this in the fair, whatever, and he goes, I want this Black man to be part of our Romy Betterment thing, and they're fighting, saying, no, Romy. If you were a Black person, would you not approach and go, you know what, yeah? It's okay for you to do for yourself, Romy people. We recognize that you go from city to city begging, people mistreat you, there's a culture of mistreating you, the Nazis tried to wipe you out. We understand that you need to spend this time on yourself. I suspect as a Black person, I would say that. But I do wonder, why is there not that many, if any, non-Black people who see the arguments of internal fight that spill out into the speaker's corner, spill out into the street, spill out into the internet, coming and say, no, Black people, we have harmed you for 400 years. We see you as inferior. In our books and texts, we have names for you that described you as below. It's okay for you to focus on yourself. We'll be okay, We'll be okay. Why don't they do this? I wonder. And I suspect there's an answer. And maybe next week we'll unpackage that. Now, family, these talks have been super fantastic. And before we know it, they go on longer than they should. We dedicate 2 hours to try to find solutions for Black people. This week, we were joined by a fantastic new orator by the name of White Matters, who has promoted this show, so support him. I would like to think that, brother White Matters, you would like to join us ongoing, because we found your contributions very spectacular and you gelled well. So
absolutely. Again, I was grateful that I managed to come across your channel. So subscribed, and I'm looking forward. I've been listening to some of the older content, but no, definitely I'll be back. So no doubt.
Thank you, brother. And we will be listening to your stuff. So as tradition dictates, is there any last thoughts that each person would like to say before we go?
Yeah, okay, I might as well start the ball rolling into it. But in general, I do love the concept, the design. I do like exactly that it's for Black people, by Black people, to help Black people. So I do love that. And I think it's a case where we do need to raise the self-esteem. And on the screen there is talk about Black love. So I think that's the main thing we start with, loving ourselves. And I think once we start with loving ourselves, knowing ourselves, that's kind of the sort of the starting point, the foundation that we need to go forward. So yeah, definitely do agree with the concept, and yeah, I'm looking forward to see how this evolves over time, for definite.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Let Brother Kel go, because we always want the ladies to go last, because they're the most important. So go ahead, Brother Kel.
Yeah, the Honourable Marcus Garvey said a race without authority is a race with no respect. So we have to get our authority and our respect back. And the only way that's going to happen is our economics, our security to protect the African woman economically, as well as politically, and in some hands, military, with wisdom, of course. Ashe.
Thank you, brother. And last but by no means least, Empress Christy.
Yeah, I just like to say it was a good show, and well done again. I think you conducted yourself brilliantly as usual. And to be honest with you, this part is a part of many parts in regards to Black Betterment, and those who understand will just kind of resonate with it and move forward in regards to the building. And I feel that the only time this really needs to be broke down, or there has to be an emphasis, is through people who are constantly attacking it. So I think it's good to have a clear understanding that this has got nothing. In fact, everything about this is about in-house and building in-house. It's got absolutely nothing to do with hate for that for anyone else, or even hate for someone who has an opinion, a persuasion to go outside of the race. It's more about focusing on self and building and moving forward with a collective that think the same. So I just wanted to make that clear, and it was a pleasure talking with all of you brothers as well.
Thank you very much, sister. And we end by saying this: the tool we learned this week is when you are debating kumbayaris and this kind of stuff, rather than insult them, understand that we are pushing traditional kindness and not contemporary kindness. Our traditional kindness is an age-old kindness that comes from Black people having very little and trying to fix that issue. So until next week, have a good constructive time. Black Betterment. Tell your friend, tell a friend to be a friend of Black Betterment. And if you wish to jump on next week, please do. Your opinions matter. Try to be constructive. And I now press end.